that breathes in me. You're the biggest part of me. You changed my life. You made it right. I'll be a shepherd to you for the rest of my
Yeah.
Okay, we will go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Sanford City Commission for Monday, March 23rd, 2026 to order. Our first order of business is the legislative prayer by Pastor Cornelius Davis of Choice, Change, and Commitment Worship Center, followed by the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
Good evening. If you would, please join me in a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come together with a heart of gratitude. Father, we ask you to move in this place, Father. Father, we thank you for the men and women gathered here who carry the work of leadership, policy, community. We pray that you would give them wisdom to govern well, to courage to make the right decision, and the compassion for the people whose lives are impacted by the decisions made today. Father, let this be a meeting marked by respect, guided by truth, and grounded in a shared desire to strengthening this city. Lord, bless Sanford. Bless it with peace, progress, and unity. And let what is done here today serve the greater good of our city. Father, we ask these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. And let everybody say,
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We have a couple of proclamations this evening. I want to start with the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. If they could please come forward. That's good. Yeah.
It's the most style we've had in here in a while. Hey, Claddy. Mm-hmm.
There's one at the back there.
That's what she had.
Uh-huh.
We're Whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is an international service organization that was founded on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. in 1908, and is the oldest Greek letter organization established by African-American college-educated women. And whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority is comprised of nearly 300,000 members in approximately 1,018 graduate and undergraduate chapters in the United States, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Canada, Dubai, Germany, Japan, Liberia, and South Korea, led by International President Danette Anthony Reed. Alpha Kappa Alpha is often hailed as America's premier Greek letter organization for African American women. And whereas the local chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Sigma Omega, was chartered April 10, 1976 in Sanford, Florida, and now includes 26 members and 3 charter members, which are Barbara Chambers, Sandra Petty, and Geraldine Wright, serving throughout Seminole County. It continues to uphold the mission of the sorority, fortifying families within our communities by addressing child hunger, supporting local charities through various education initiatives, clothing drives, prioritizing activities that promote the adoption of more sustainable and responsible practices, and promoting fairness and equity. And whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated was founded on a mission comprised of 5 basic tenets that have remained unchanged since the sorority's inception more than a century ago: to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards, to promote unity and friendship among college women, to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women to improve their social stature, to maintain a progressive interest in college life, and to be of service to all mankind. And whereas the notable Kappa Sigma Omega chapter celebrates its Founders Day anniversary on April 10 of each year, whereas in honor of that anniversary, we are immensely proud to recognize the Kappa Sigma Omega chapter and its members' existence of 50 years in the community for the numerous ways they lend their talents to enrich and enhance Sanford and Seminole County, Florida. So now, therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 10, 2026 as Kappa Sigma Omega Chapter Day. Turn page. And I encourage all citizens to extend best wishes and gratitude to members within the organization for their continuous contributions and demonstrations of persistent years of service within our community. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Dr. Brianna Jenkins, and I'm the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Sigma Omega chapter. We would like to thank Mayor Woodruff and the City Commission for this proclamation. Serving Sanford for 50 years has been our honor and privilege, and we hope to continue to do so for 50 more years. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Wiggins, is that pink tie for them? Just a coincidence?
Thank you so much. There we go. Okay. All right.
Scooching, scooching.
3, 2, 1.
The knees.
Next, we have Water Conservation Month. Mr. Mr. Johnson going to come down to accept that one?
Skip one.
Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, the water management districts, and the city of Sanford are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Sanford and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, as Florida's Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Sanford has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas outdoor irrigation comprises a large portion of water use, the city of Sanford encourages citizens and businesses to focus on improving outdoor irrigation efficiency. Now, therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month in the city of Sanford and call upon all residents and businesses to help protect our precious water resources by practicing water-saving measures and increasing awareness of the importance of conservation. In recognition of the 28th year of Water Conservation Month, this year's focus will be on ensuring that outdoor irrigation systems operate efficiently by using properly functioning rain shutoff devices. By making sure these devices are installed, connected, and working as intended, our community can prevent unnecessary watering, reduce waste, and make better use of the rainfall we receive.
It's quite an effective image up there. Let's prevent that.
Last, we have National Community Development Week.
Yay! Tierra, tierra.
Whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1974, providing local governments with the resources required to primarily meet the needs of low and moderate income persons, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and affordable housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. Whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has allocated a total of $437,753 in funding for the Sanford community for fiscal year 2026, and whereas the City of Sanford, Florida, has effectively administered and customized its Community Development Block Grant Program to implement various programs and projects in the areas of affordable housing, minor home repairs, economic development, health services, homelessness that has contributed to the improvement of the physical, economic, and social conditions in our city. Whereas the week of April 6 to 10, 2026 has been reserved for recognition and appreciation of Community Development Block Grant Program. Now, therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of April 6 to 10, 2026 as National Community Development Week in the city of Sanford and urge all citizens to join us in recognizing community development programs and the important role that they play in our community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiara Hardaway. I'm the CDBG manager for the city of Sanford. And on behalf of Community Development Week, we will be hosting a Goldsboro Trail Beautification Day on Saturday, April 11th from 9 to 12 p.m. So we invite all to attend to help beautify the Goldsboro Trail. Thank you.
See you there. No business spotlight.
Did I miss one? Yeah, and then we have a business spotlight. sort of jumped over in the agenda.
We figured you had enough of here. Not madness.
All right, Mayor and Commissioners, this one was a very interesting one. My conversation with this young lady that I'm about to introduce started with, "I've been stalking you." And I said, "Oh boy." So I will tell you, I was on a site visit out in the mall area, decided, hey, I haven't been to Steak and Shake in a while. It's been in the media. There's been quite a few changes out there. Went into Steak and Shake, watched a beautiful business being operated. Steak and Shake, and I'll let this young lady tell you a little bit about that, but Steak and Shake went through a corporate change a few years ago, and they leaned on franchise owners to take over a number of their locations. This one in particular is doing a phenomenal job, and I got to meet some of her employees, which was a true pleasure. She's not going to be able to discuss certain numbers, but I can assure you that this lady is running a fantastic business in very tough conditions. So I asked her at the end of my lunch, I said, would you mind being the business spotlight? She said, absolutely. And then she went dark on me. She said she almost chickened out, but she is here. And with that, I would like to introduce the franchise owner-operator of the Steak and Shake here in Sanford, Miss Melissa Pascuzzo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Melissa Pascuzzo, and I am the franchise owner of Steak and Shake at Seminole Town Center Mall. I've been with Steak and Shake 9 years and became a franchise owner in 2022. It has been a challenging journey as the mall has declined. With closures like the mall, Red Lobster, Hooters, Joann's, you don't just lose business, you lose customers, employees, and overall traffic. We felt that impact every day. I'm here today on behalf of Brady Lessard to share the excitement around the revitalization of this area. A year ago, I watched Brady taking interviews with the local news out there on Dillard's, and I'm like, I should take that guy a milkshake or maybe a burger. I need to know what's going on. Glad I didn't, because he said he would have put me on the news. I'm not a speaker. But I guess I've been paying very close attention ever since. Inside my restaurant, the energy is real. My regulars are constantly asking for updates. Visitors from out of town are talking about it. Everyone is so excited about Costco coming in and what that means for the future of this community. Despite the challenges Steak and Shake has seen success as the Sanford community continues to grow. We notice a clear increase in customers during local events. I have made it a priority to stay connected to the community. I sponsor youth sports leagues, senior games. I've donated 250 burgers for youth baseball opening day. I provide 500 water bottles twice a year for the leagues and participants. Over a year ago, Steak and Shake transitioned to MAHA standards. We introduced beef tallow and eliminated seed oils from our cooking process. While we initially received some pushback because our fries still contain the seed oils, Steak and Shake listened and made the changes. Today our fries are completely free of seed oils. And a week ago we launched our beef tallow tots. This initiative has been featured on Fox News multiple times. Robert Kennedy highlighted during an interview inside a Steak and Shake location. These changes have made a real difference, especially for all our stores. What makes me most proud, though, is my team. I hired a grill cook in December. When he clocked in, he said it was his birthday. I told him that's incredible. 76 years old. And he's going to be my grill cook from 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. He said, this is the best birthday present ever. So a couple weeks later, I said, why after being retired for so long are you working for me? He goes, ma'am, I'm building a school in Africa, and I'm donating every dollar I make here towards that. They're putting the roof on now. I also employ many students from Seminole High. I hire them at 16 and work around their schedules, whether lacrosse, cheerleading, clubs, football. Many of them go on to college but work seasonally for me after. They'll stay with me till they're 20, 22. Sometimes I hire their siblings. One of my manager, who's been a missionary, has been with me 5 years, never missed a day of work. She's now getting ready to retire and go stay by her grandchildren. Boy, I'm going to miss her. Every day within my 4 walls, I hear the excitement about what's coming. People ask how we managed to survive. The truth is, it hasn't been easy, but the changes we made, the growth in Sanford, the support of the community, and this revitalization of the Sanford Mall, Costco, is huge. And when Costco arrives and the redevelopment is complete, the sky is truly the limit. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will tell you, hold on, Melissa. I heard her say to her employees, if we ever serve fries that aren't hot, I cannot pay you. And I will say, my fries were piping hot that day. So.
Fries that are cold, please call.
Yeah, but I will tell you, it's an interesting story. This is one of the few Steak and Shakes in Florida that does not have an interstate billboard. Melissa shared that with me. Because of a road realignment, they lost their billboard.
And all street signs, I have nothing.
Yeah.
Put a yard
So.
sign in, the city takes it out.
So I do appreciate the opportunity to introduce Melissa tonight, so thank you so much.
Thanks, Brady.
Thank you.
Melissa, I'd like you to know that because of my grandsons, I've visited your store many a times.
Thank you. Do you always get hot fries?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that brings us to the minutes of the March 9, 2026 regular meeting and work session.
Moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, before you move on with consent, I do have one change, and that's on item I. The amount is incorrect. It should be $196, $168, and 50 cents.
Okay, all right, thank
And when
you.
you get to the public hearings, we noticed that some were reading first reading again. All public hearings except the last 2 items are second readings for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, to facilitate public input, if you plan to speak on an item, we would appreciate it if you would fill out one of these yellow forms and have it brought forward. The public will be given an opportunity to speak on any item before the City Commission during the regular meeting. Before a consent agenda, I'll ask if anyone wants to speak on any of those items during public hearings. Before a motion is made, there will be an opportunity for anybody in the public to speak. During regular items, if comments are not called for and you've not submitted the yellow form, if you would raise your hand, you'll be recognized. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker on each item, except a person representing an organization and presenting its views during a quasi-judicial hearing, which will be allowed 5 minutes. Citizen participation is after the public hearings, and individuals may address the commission on any topic not on the agenda. There's a 5-minute time limit for citizen comments. So, does anyone in the audience have to address anything on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing no one, I'll bring that to the commission for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like for the record on item D, for it to be noted that I did reach out to residents at the Gateway regarding this event because there is some overnight activity and no one seemed to object to it. With that, I move to approve consent item 6, A through I.
With the change on I. Okay, in a second, all in favor?
Aye, especially good on item G. That makes me happy.
Okay, passed unanimously. Brings us to public hearings, second reading of ordinance 4845. Ms. Green.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real properties, which is generally addressed as 3850 Sipes Avenue, located contiguous to the City of Sanford in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Section 171.044 Florida statutes, redefining the boundaries of the City of Sanford to include said property, amending the boundaries of the city in accordance with the provisions of Section 166.031 Florida statutes, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative office of Seminole County, and with the Department of State, providing for legal description and a map, providing for the incorporation of that exhibit, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and the taking of administrative actions, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Commission, the city staff have reviewed the request for annexation and found the request to meet the criteria set forth in the Florida statutes. The boundaries are contiguous to the city and are reasonably complex, and therefore it is the city staff recommendation City Commission adopt ordinance number 4845 to annex the location of 3850 Snipes Avenue as legally described into the city of Sanford.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Second reading of ordinance 4846.
Ordinance 4846, an ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, amending the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan as previously amended, providing for amendment of the future land use element of the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan relative to certain real property from suburban estates to low-density residential single-family, approximately 19.76 acres in size, located at 3850 Sipes Avenue within the city limits. Said property being more specifically described in this ordinance, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for assignment of the land use designation for property, providing for the adoption of maps by reference, providing for severability, providing for ratification of prior acts of the city, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, and directions to the code codifier, and providing for the implementation of the statutory expedited state review process and an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, on February the 5th of 2026, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission decided to recommend that the City Commission approve the request, and therefore the staff's request that City Commission approve ordinance number 4846.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to this? Yes, sir.
Randall Morris, 7150 South Atlantic Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. Mayor and Commissioners, I'm the owner's representative here today. We did have a clarification as to this being the second reading. I just noticed that the slide still says first reading, just so we might want to alert the audience that this is the second and final reading. And we do not have a presentation this evening. Obviously, we did our presentation to you at the last hearing. So for this hearing and the next hearing, which would also be second reading, we would just want to thank staff, and we want to, in particular, Eileen and Ms. Green for moving this process along. We appreciate their help so much, and we ask you to please support these two items coming up to you right now with the full staff recommendations that are pretty critical to moving the process along. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Reserve any time if there's anybody from the audience that may have a question or clarification.
All right. Thank you. Did you have anything? Okay. Is there? Oh, sorry, Eileen. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to this item, which is the second reading? Okay. See no one, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it to the commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Before we get to the next item, let me what do you need?
4847 is out of order. Madam Clerk, do you have 4847? Okay.
Okay, while she's bringing that down, I will go ahead and start on this. In order to conserve time, I'll read the statement once tonight. when an agenda item involves a quasi-judicial process, which this item does, and which item 7B3 is also quasi-judicial. Commissioners must disclose all ex parte communications, including the name of the communicator and the time, place, and substance of the communication. Written communications, commissioners' investigations, site visits, and receipt of expert opinions must also be disclosed and made part of the record. Persons who have opinions contrary to those expressed in an ex parte communication may refute or respond to the communication at the hearing when they make their presentation. In a quasi-judicial process, parties to the proceedings are generally the city and the applicant. Others who have legal standing to appeal the decision can request to be recognized as a party. Parties are subject to cross-examination and must give their testimony under oath. Persons do not have to be a party to the proceedings in order to be recognized and to provide comments. Members of the public who wish to make comments are not subject to cross-examination and are not sworn as evidentiary witnesses. Comments of the public that provide facts relevant to the application are considered in the decision. Qualifications of the city staff are part of the agenda materials. All testimony and evidence provided to the City Commission must be competent, material, and substantial under Florida law. A guide to quasi-judicial hearing or proceedings has been published on the city's websites, and copies are available at the back of the chambers. So if anyone is that will be testifying as a party to either this item or to Ordinance 4850, which is B3, if you would please stand. Are you asking to be sworn as a party? Okay. All right, so we can go through and state our names, please. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in the matters now at hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you. You can be seated. And so that brings us to second reading of 4847. Do you have it yet?
My apologies, I'll have to get it off the computer upstairs. I can bring it in 10.
You want me just to read what it's about?
Is it the same from last time? Okay.
Just the first page. Ordinance 4847, an ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, providing for the planned development rezoning for real property to amend Jesus Image PD located at project address 2867 East Lake Mary Boulevard by adding real property totaling approximately 19.76 acres in size, which is generally addressed as 3850 Sipes Avenue within city limits, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of a map by reference, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, on March 9th of 2026, you unanimously approved ordinance number 4847 on first reading to amend the Jesus Image PD by incorporating and rezoning 19.76 acres at 3850 Sipes Avenue. It is the staff's recommendation that you approve ordinance number 4847.
Okay, this is quasi-judicial. Does anyone have anything to declare?
Nothing further to disclose.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring the commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us to second reading of ordinance 4848.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real properties, which is generally addressed as 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard, located contiguous to the City of Sanford, together with associated right-of-way, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Section 171.044 Florida statutes, redefining the boundaries of the City of Sanford to include said property, amending the boundaries of the city in accordance with the provisions of Section 166.031 Florida statutes, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative office of Seminole County, and with the Department of State, providing for legal description and a map, and providing for the incorporation of that exhibit, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and the taking of administrative actions, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, city staff have reviewed the request for annexation and found the request to meet the criteria set forth in the Florida statutes. It is therefore the city staff recommendation that the City Commission adopt ordinance number 4848 and annex 3 acres into the City of Sanford as legally described as 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to the annexation? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring the commission for action.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think you had a question, Mayor, last time about whether or not we should annex the property from the county. Do I remember that correctly?
I did think I raised that issue, but
Do you remember the answer to the question?
I think my question was, could they develop if they did not annex? And the answer was, we would still have to provide utilities.
I just wanted to make sure I remembered that correctly.
Right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay. Ordinance 4849.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, amending the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan as previously amended, providing for amendment of the future land use element of the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan relative to certain real property of approximately 3 acres from high-intensity planned development airport to airport industry and commerce, and the assigned tax identification numbers, which is generally addressed as 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard within city limits, said property being more specifically described in this ordinance, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for assignment of the land use designation for the property, providing for the adoption of maps by reference, providing for severability, providing for ratification of prior acts of the city, providing for conflicts, providing for codification and directions to the code codifier, and providing for the implementation of the statutory expedited state review process and an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, at their regular meeting on February 5th, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend that the City Commission approve the request to amend the future land use from high-intensity planned development to airport industry and commerce. It is therefore staff's recommendation the City Commission adopt ordinance number 4849.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to the change in the future land use? Yes, sir.
Just very briefly, because I'll be here on the next item, by way of reintroduction, Logan Opsall, 215 North Eola Drive. Of course, following annexation per the terms of the JPA and the comprehensive plan, the land use designation needs to be assigned, and that is the one being requested and supported by staff. Step up on the next item. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Does anyone else in the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring the commission for action. Somebody like to make a motion on the future land use?
Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us to ordinance 4850.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, providing for the planned development rezoning of approximately 3 acres from A1 agriculture to PD planned development and assign tax parcel number 032315AY 400560, which is generally addressed as 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard within city limits, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of a map by reference, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, at their regularly scheduled meeting on February the 5th of 2026, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-1 to recommend the City Commission adopt an ordinance rezoning 3.0 acres at the project address of 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard. The City Commission approved the ordinance on first reading at March 9th, and it is now before you for second reading.
Okay, this is quasi-judicial. Does anyone have anything to declare? Okay.
Nothing further.
I do. I did make a site visit to the property, and I met with Nathan and Danica Christensen, and they showed me the property line behind their house. Also present was Judith Sente, Casaba Aslanci, Carlos Torre, Amanda Martin, and Michael Toole. And other than showing me the property, the conversation generally revolved around the concerns they have already shared. Okay. So, Ms. Henson.
Okay, as second reading, we have gone over some of this in the first reading, but for the benefit of those who either weren't here for the public hearing on the first read or just as a refresher, I put together a slightly shorter, although just as comprehensive PowerPoint. So 3151 East Lake Mary Boulevard, the applicant is seeking to rezone 3 acres from the county's agriculture to the city's planned development for the purpose of the service station that's in the master plan. This is the site vicinity as well as the zoning on the opposite sides of the project. Some of them are county and some of them are city. So the 3-acre site at Skyway Drive and East Lake Mary Boulevard, the owner is seeking to annex for city services and future commercial use. It keeps the county future land use designation until the city's designation, the corresponding one, is adopted. So it's going to go from the county HIP, AP, future land use, to the city's AIC. The statute requires a rezone to a city plan to be consistent with the future land use map. The future land use map mixed use component of AIC supports a planned development district. The PD provides a site-specific plan. The rezoning from County A1 to PD requires this public hearing, and approval requires adoption of the annexation and the future land use amendment, which were just heard and adopted prior to this hearing. So the master plan before you shows the site where they're looking to establish the 2 parcels, the one in question for the service station, and then a track 2, which it says the Lake Mary Crossings has the 2 commercial tracks, internal circulation and supporting infrastructure. The PD sets site-specific standards, allows the GC2 uses, but excludes outdoor storage, truck vehicular rental, and vehicle sales. Track 1 is planned for a convenience store with gas pumps, and Track 2 is connective out parcel, but no end user has been established at this time. Inside your packet, you have the master plans. These are way too small to read, but it lays out the specifics for development standards, as well as the table of setbacks, buffers, and related information. So when they first came before you for first reading, this was the master plan. There were some questions about the retention pond, some questions about the location of the dumpster, separation between the southern property line and the rear of the houses, which you can see on the aerial. So an update, during first reading, it was identified that no variances were requested. However, the dumpster enclosure was at 25 feet from the property line. The setback is 50 foot as required by Schedule J. And since the first reading, the applicant has revised the plan as it relates to the dumpster location, which now, as you can see, is on the west, which allows for the truck to circulate through, pick up the dumpster, and then leave out through the right in, right out on the left.
The resident concerns at the Planning and Zoning Commission, a public hearing was held on February 4th. Significant participation from nearby residents and written comments received from Parkview Place, Galileo School parents and staff, as well as other citizens. The City Commission then held the first reading of the ordinance on March 9th, 2026, with similar participation from the public. And concerns generally fell into several major categories summarized in the following slides. There were concerns with health and air quality. There were concerns with environmental risks, and there were concerns with proximity to the school and the children, each of those broken down by bullet underneath, as well as traffic and school zone safety, crime and public safety, noise, lighting, and 24-hour activity, property values and neighborhood character, lack of need and oversaturation of the service stations, and then the comprehensive plan and compatibility. So the comprehensive plan assessment, the site lies within the airport, industry, and commerce. It guides development around the airport surrounding properties. Per objective, future land use 1.9 and related policies support airport-related industrial, commercial, service, and mixed-use development. The proposed amendment and PD rezoning must demonstrate consistency with these policies. So comprehensive plan assessment, objective future land use 1.9 and policy FLU 1.9.1 are AIC intent and function. They encourage expansion of the airport compatibility, industrial, and mixed-use development, applies to airport property and adjacent lands, requires consistency with the ALP, also known as the Airport Layout Plan. An allowed land use mix includes industrial, business parks, office complexes, commercial and retail uses, services, hotels, medium and high density multifamily where appropriate. And the relevance to this project, fueling and convenience retail are supported uses, commercial, within the AIC PD, allowing customized standards for compatibility between uses. So the city staff did do a comprehensive overview of the comprehensive plan and found that various future land use elements specific to this project were supportive of the request. Everything from the commercial corridors, regional activity centers, and economic development elements, and then intergovernmental coordination and urban design, and then East Lake Mary Boulevard, small area study, established through a coordinated study with OSIA and Seminole County, located within the East Lake Mary Boulevard mixed-use district, intended to provide goods and services that support the Orlando Sanford International Airport, Boomba Sports Complex, and nearby residential neighborhoods. The study identified preferred uses within the district, included community and general commercial, tourist supportive uses, open space parks and preserve areas, and the proposed PD rezoning is consistent with the study's intent, allowing airport supportive commercial uses that align with the district's development framework. So staff comprehensive conclusion is the AIC district and East Lake Mary Boulevard corridor designed for airport supportive, regional, and corridor oriented community uses, commercial uses. The policies across multiple plan elements support the commercial services supporting airport operations, employment centers, and traveler needs. The proposed convenience store and fueling station fits the AIC designation and the corridor-oriented community and commercial intent. The PD standards address compatibility, buffers, lighting, site design to create appropriate transitions to nearby residential areas. And based on a policy consistency and compatibility through site design, staff recommends approval of the PD rezoning. The recommendation on February 5th, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-1 to recommend that the City Commission adopt this ordinance. The chair, Victoria Wilson, dissented, stating the proposed rezone is not consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan as it relates to sustainability, safe cities, and overall health, safety, and welfare, although specific elements were not cited. And then on March 9th, 2006, City Commission approved first reading, but directed the applicant to provide additional information and updated plans prior to the second reading that addressed the following: clarification on Skyway Drive, a detailed analysis of the proposed wall and retention of existing vegetation, and then update and evaluate the feasibility and impact of a footprint shift of 5 feet to the north. So, as noted before, this was revised and forwarded to staff on March 16th, and these are the applicant's modifications since first reading. So the recommendation remains the same from staff, with the standards and conditions within your staff report. And then on the first reading, there were some questions regarding denial of the application. So I've added a slide to just discuss Florida law and basis for denial. State law requires rezonings to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. A rezoning must be denied if it does not further or is not compatible with the comprehensive plan. And the city may deny a PD if impacts to compatibility, neighborhood character, safety, or the environment are not proven to be fully mitigated. And if the PD conflicts with site plan policies, Florida law obligates the city to deny the request. So, any questions?
Yes. So can you further explain when you're talking about the variances and deviations, when we're talking about the placement of the dumpster?
Yeah.
And you're saying that where the dumpster is located, the required setback is 50 feet, and then it would have to be reduced to 25 feet?
No.
Explain it to me.
It's the other way around. Now, on their first reading, they submitted a site plan that had a 25-foot setback. It was required to be 50 feet. So staff called it out because it didn't meet, although it was on the master plan, so it was part of their proposal. So their proposal was to have it there. But after first reading with this commission, they found a way to relocate it within the site plan so that now it does meet the minimum 50-foot setback.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
No, sir.
Okay, the applicant ready to present?
What? Oh, yes.
Good evening again, Logan Opsahl, 215 North Eola Drive, on behalf of the applicant. Have a presentation that I have reworked from our first reading to talk about some of the items that staff identified, that the direction the commission gave us as it relates to alternatives to the site plan, having discussions about the access with the county, and then we'll look at the wall too. So we have representatives from the project team to walk through some of those slides, some of which you've seen, so I'll be brief, but I want to make sure that we're not just answering and responding to the direction we heard from the commission, but also some of the specific items that we heard from residents as it relates to their standpoint on the project and mitigating, as you saw in the staff report, some of the impacts and suspected impacts. So you've heard about my client, Creighton Development, full service engineering design, they have extensive background in acquisition engineering design. They're a full service construction management company operating in multiple states across the country. The property, of course, we well know at the intersection of East Lake Mary Boulevard and Skyway, and within the Sanford Seminole County Joint Planning Agreement, which I'm going to touch on in some detail because it's helpful for the decision before you tonight. Our requests are threefold: annexation, which we took care of, the future land use amendment in line with that JPA, the AIC, which is consistent with that JPA, and a rezoning to the PD, which contains the specific conditions that we were able to build upon with your staff following Planning Commission and including tonight. So I want to take the time to talk about the Joint Planning Agreement. This is the agreement between the county and the city for coordinated planning efforts. This area also lies within the small area study, which I'll touch on independently, but I want to dive in a little bit to the JPA and some of the specifics, particularly in light of some of the questions and matters raised at first hearing. So the next couple slides I'm just taking from the JPA. So this is copied and pasted, and it's at the forefront of what this agreement attempts to accomplish. And it is the parties, that's the county and of course the city, recognizing that joint planning for the growth and development of both the county and the city is in the common interest of both and is consistent with state law, serves the public interest, and importantly, designed and desired to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens through those joint planning efforts. Moving forward in the joint planning agreement, we talked about this at first reading too, the future land use equivalency, because it's important for the planning considerations, particularly as it relates to the PD. We have the equivalency chart, which I have on my next slide, and that is that high-intensity airport use in the county and the AIC in the city. Now, per this agreement between the jurisdictions, these consistent land use designations are equivalent because they're similar in intensities and densities. And I think that's important for purposes of tonight's discussion, because these are areas in the city that have been identified in the comprehensive planned land use element for these types of uses. And also through the efforts of the joint planning agreement and the agreement between the county and the city are areas that have those intensities and densities that both the county and the city desire to see in those particular areas. And this is that equivalency chart. Two snippets I took directly from the JPA, which outlines the Exhibit B, which is this equivalency chart, and that these designations have been deemed equivalent, again, due to their similar intensities and densities of allowable development. Moving forward with some of the land use information, and this is just outlining those. This is the equivalency in action, which takes us to the maps, which I think you've seen this in first reading, you've seen it in some of the staff reports, just to contextualize. Our property on Skyway and Lake Mary Boulevard, shown in the purple, under the county and in the similar land use designations of the surrounding uses, including the residential community to our south and areas to our east and west. And of course, the institutional uses like the Boomba Sports Complex and the airports to the north. And then in this, so our property shown there, and I'm happy to answer this on no problem, on our response as well. But you can see the residential community to the south of our property. It's that rectangular to the north. They are situated in the county before this annexation tonight in the same land use designation, which is going to be important for our discussion. Following annexation, again, per the terms of the joint planning agreement, and because of that equivalency matrix, that's why we were designated the AIC. And so this is the City of Sanford's future land use map showing the AIC, which is that darker purple. And so you see a compatible, consistent use in compliance with the JPA in your comprehensive plan. Again, those are items we just took care of. And the zoning map in the county, the Parkview is obviously a PD and shown in blue. We are requesting a PD, but in the city. So this is the county zoning map. And in the cities, we have those institutional uses across the street and some more planned development in the area. So again, that consistent, compatible implementation of the planning through the zoning. And that's the PD request before you. I want to bring up a representative of our project team because, and I appreciate the courtesy copy delivered to me tonight on some of the studies. You know, a lot of effort was put into the correspondence and some of the research and studies that were included. And so it was not just important, I think it was appropriate for us to also take the time to go through those studies and those concerns. And so here's some of the list of the sources and having gone through those, and then this will take us into as well some of the important topics raised by commissioners in the first reading relating to the safety of the infrastructure and the implementation and build out of these types of uses. So we'll roll into the next slides, cover that, and I'll continue with my presentation.
Thank you. David Martinez, 1228 Winter Garden, Vineland Road. Just a brief introduction of who I am. I have been an environmental consultant scientist since 1999. I have a degree in geology, bachelor's in science and geology from University of California at Davis. And most of my career has been spent in around gas stations, working for various consultants. I'm here representing the applicant tonight. My team was asked to evaluate the environmental concerns raised by the residents of Parkview Place, and I do want to commend them on these references that they brought forth. From a scientific standpoint, these do appear to be peer-reviewed scientific studies in scientific journals accessed from the NIH government database. My team reviewed these references, and we found no reason to doubt the methods that were used in these studies, nor to doubt the validity of the conclusions of these studies. Also, it is known already by the United States Environmental Protection Agency and by the state of Florida that a lot of the chemical compounds that are referenced here, including benzenes, do have adverse health effects to humans. So these studies are valid, but upon closer examination of these studies, it became apparent that they may not necessarily be applicable to what's being on the docket tonight. Generally, they fall into two groups. Importantly, in yellow, we have studies that were conducted in Europe either partially before 2009 or entirely before 2009. And the reason why this is significant is because it wasn't until 2009 that the European Union issued a directive that all of the gas stations within its borders would have vapor recovery systems mandatory. So the studies that you see in yellow are being done in the context in which vapors are allowed to freely float off of the gas station property. Now, for context, vapor recovery systems have been required by the US EPA since at least the mid-1990s. In 1998, a more rigorous two-stage vapor recovery system was required, and in the early 2000s, all new vehicles and light-duty trucks and vans in the United States were required to have their own onboard recovery system. So although the results of the studies here are internally valid, they don't necessarily apply to the United States in 2026. The citations in green were put there to reinforce the health risks that are known with these chemicals, but like I said, these are already acknowledged by the United States and by the state of Florida. There were studies conducted in the United States. Those are in blues sometimes, but they're not related to gas stations. They're spills, or they cite unspecified benzene sources, which could be a refinery, they can be bulk storage plant, that sort of thing. And finally, in gray, these citations were not primary sources. They weren't studies within themselves. There was a quote that kind of gave me pause in one of the citations. This is a quote from a memo from a toxicologist in California in 2018, who stated that the World Health Organization has determined that there is no safe value or a safe level of exposure. My team took a look at this report, and that phrase actually does not appear in that report. The World Health Organization's actual words are there in italics. And essentially, the World Health Organization recognizes levels of risks. Importantly, from a scientific standpoint, scientific communication standpoint, it might be a little misleading to say there is no safe level when that's not how this is thought of, and the analysis, or analogy rather, is like that of the UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation in sunlight. There is no there's no safe threshold of UV sunlight. You step into the sun, there's always a risk, no matter how small, from UV sunlight. Now, I'm not saying that benzene and ultraviolet radiation are equivalent in their risk. But the point is that that is not how the World Health Organization assesses its risk. It's not about there being a safe threshold. So I mentioned vapor recovery systems a moment ago, and this is what the vapor recovery system is. So I know that the concern among the residents, and again, I do commend them for their rigorous research into these topics, that the vapor recovery system allows or prevents the vapors from leaving the equipment. It's 95 to 98% effective, depending on what piece of equipment we're talking about. And as I said, since 2006, even our vehicles have onboard refueling vapor recovery. I think it's important that we understand whenever we look at a gas station and we see the refueling truck going in there, that it's not just putting fuel into the tank, it's also allowing the vapors, as the tank fills up, it's pushing the vapors out into the truck. The vapors are not escaping into the environment. Also, it's a misconception that I've seen while I've been working out in gas stations, that people think these vent pipes are there to actually just vent the vapors during refueling. That is not the case. Those vent pipes are a stopgap measure in case, for some reason, in a rare event, that the vapor recovery system within the truck was not functioning, then the vapors would escape through the vent pipe. But that is not a routine practice. And finally, my team and I just wanted to address some of the broader environmental concerns. These systems, whether it's the vapor recovery or the storage of the product, these are modern, sophisticated, and very highly regulated systems. So all of the petroleum components and systems and protocols are regulated by Florida Administrative Code, Chapter 761, and that includes, among many other things, monitoring for leak detection 24/7, mandatory monthly inspections of the equipment. This is going to be sometimes more than monthly, depending on the specific type of equipment. Florida requires double wall for its underground storage tanks. 7-Eleven actually requires double wall for all of its components, so it's even more rigorous than the state's requirements. The state of Florida requires that any suspected release or leak be investigated within 24 hours. 7-Eleven requires of its contractors 4 hours, and I know personally because I was that guy that was called out at 3 o'clock in the morning to investigate a leak. So they are serious about that. And finally, in the rare event that a release occurs, that is governed by Florida Administrative Code, Chapters 62, 70, 80, and that is going to be paid for by the state or by the operator. When I was coming into this profession in 1999, the idea of this huge leaking underground storage tank, that was already becoming a thing of the past. It's just not a reality anymore. Leaks do happen occasionally, but these big environmental catastrophes, these systems are designed to prevent against that. It only makes business sense and sense in a sense of environmental stewardship. So I hope that my kind of presentation on the systems themselves and how they keep the vapors away and how the results of the studies that were cited by the residents of Parkview Place are sobering, but they don't necessarily apply to modern systems here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know when you won your elections, you didn't think you'd be getting science lessons at commission, but it is important, and certainly lots of issues raised, and I agree that a lot of time and effort went into compiling this, and so it deserved our attention, and having the appropriate experts speak to those. I think that's an important part of this presentation and what we learn in these public hearings, and and where I implement that as land use council, and again, grounding this in some of the stuff we heard at first hearing, is we have a planning decision to make tonight. This body has a planning decision to make tonight, and I'm here tonight in a quasi-judicial capacity in an effort to push forward this application through the confines and requirements of the city of Sanford to make sure it complies with your code and your comprehensive plan and state law. And so with that, we're going to hear a lot of things, but I think what has been coming up and doing this comprehensive review of what we heard is coming back to this idea of what we heard at the forefront by the mayor before we take public hearing, and that's that competent substantial evidence component, because it is compelling what we hear, but Florida law is consistent in that items like objections or fears do not rise to the level of competent substantial evidence. Certainly things like opinions or a large number of folks do not, but it doesn't make their concerns any less worthy of a comprehensive review and response. It's important that we provide that expert testimony and review of what was raised. So I thank them for their time on that. I also want to address the small area study. It is a small area and of course encompasses our property, but consistent, and we see this a lot through the JPA, through your comprehensive plans, through the counties. This area is to provide goods and services, yes, to the airport, yes, to the Boomba Sports Complex, and yes, to existing residential development and the residents of the city of Sanford and beyond. Rolling into the comprehensive plan, and this is just a continuation of my previous slide, we've, I think, all been clear about your staff's, as their professional posture constitutes competent substantial evidence. Your staff report, which outlines, I would say, and analyzes comprehensively the consistency with the goals, policies, and objectives of your comprehensive plan as it relates to this application, this property. And so I just want to roll through a couple of them high level, and I promise I'm shoring this up because I know I've taken a lot of your time, but the AIC land use designation is a high intensity mixed use. And it's designed for commercial industrial uses with that mixed component for some levels of medium and higher intensity residential development. I said this at the forefront, so I'll go through this very quickly, that upon annexation, that these properties in this area are automatically designated the AIC, and it goes on to spell out that commercial and retail developments of which we're proposing. And I just think it's important too. We see this time and again in your staff reports and your comp plan and the joint planning study, that it is also among medium to high density multifamily residential developments. I wanted to just talk about that because some comments were made at first reading as it relates to Parkview, and maybe we would have done things differently if it was in the city because it's in the county. I mean, that community was approved within the county, and so I wanted to pull together. Their community was approved as the Skyway Beardall Plan Development on November 2nd, 2016. And Madam City Clerk, I'm going to hand you, I have copies for all the commissioners of the staff report.
Thank you.
Now, as this makes its way down, you have a lot of material in front of you, so I took the liberty of highlighting some certain provisions, and it's only 4 pages. But this was done through the county, and again, this was after the execution of the joint planning agreement between the county and the city. And a couple things I want to bring to your attention when they were assessing this property for its potential development. One, at its initial approval, it was for 9.5 dwelling units per acre at 133 residential townhomes. I think it's important to note because when the county was looking at a consistency standard with their comp plan, and not to run afoul to the JPA with the city, that was a medium to higher intensity residential development. That was designated in this area that would always contemplate commercial and higher intense uses. On the second page, it speaks to that. The intent of the HIP-AP area is to provide for higher intensity airport supportive employment uses and medium to high density residential and mixed use development that is compatible with the operation and expansion of the Orlando Sanford International Airport. So again, these uses were always supposed to coexist together, and originally it was contemplated that these would be a higher intensity residential development. Now, moving on to the next page, consistency with the Land Development Code. At the bottom there, I thought this was interesting. It said that the proposed development in neighboring HIP-AP designated parcels, the buffers for this community were reduced. And they were reduced at the approval of that subdivision because the development potential of the land use designation of which we both share and which is equivalent, as you saw in the equivalency chart for the JPA, to the land use designation we were assigned. As it moves to the staff's overall recommendation, it says that the current proposal implements the intent of the HIP-AP, which is to promote that higher intensity, including commercial and industrial uses. It talks about the higher intensity residential development. And then at the end of the last paragraph before the recommendation, it says that this development at 133 townhomes at the time serves as a transitional use between higher intensities along East Lake Mary Boulevard to the north, so that's us, and lower density single-family uses south of Kentucky Street, and recommended approval based on that criteria, not only of the county's comprehensive plans, but in line with a joint planning agreement with the city. Now, over the years, that PD was amended, I believe twice, best I could tell, to ultimately reduce the unit count and then finally change the asset class from townhomes to single family. You don't need to go through this. I'm not going to take the time to go through it, but I do want to hand it out because it's one of the addendum which shows the current use down to 7. Hand it to the clerk. Make it part of the record. So overall, this area is being developed exactly the way that the county and the city always envisioned it. Higher intensity residential uses acting as a transition to the more intense commercial uses along East Lake Mary Boulevard, consistent with your comprehensive plan, consistent with the land use designation and the joint planning agreement and the small area study. So you saw the site layout from the staff report, and we did our homework. We have, I'll bring up the project engineer. You saw a amendment to our site plan, which removed that variance request, if you will, for the dumpster. But I'm going to have Jeremy walk you through some of the other alternatives to show you that we heard what you said and we wanted to implement it for your review and feedback. So, Jeremy.
Good afternoon, Jeremy Anderson, 4020 Edgewater Drive, Orlando. It's a pleasure to be here before you again tonight. Thank you for your time. So following the last hearing, we were tasked with a little bit of homework. So we did do that homework. We were asked to consider reducing the front landscape buffer by 5 feet and increasing the proposed landscape buffer on the southern end of the property to provide a greater landscape buffer, of course, to the residential development to our south. We were asked to consider preservation of existing trees, which we did, and I'm going to get into here in just a moment. There was a question about how much fill would be required on site. I could talk about that a little bit. There was also discussion on the location of the 8-foot-tall decorative buffer wall, whether that could be on the property line or perhaps moved further into the property. And then finally, we also went over the solid waste location being in the 50-foot wide setback
And there was also discussion on the means of access from the driveway perspective. So this is one of the exhibits we have here to share. Now, this exhibit is the plan, this is just a conceptual plan. This is the conceptual plan with the solid waste enclosure positioned within that southern 50-foot building setback line. The green line that we have shown there along the southern buffer is, approximately 30 feet from the southern boundary is the concept of like where that buffer wall could be located. This is the same plan showing that buffer wall along the property line, and this is the updated conceptual plan showing the solid waste enclosure outside of the building setback and meeting all building setbacks. This plan also shows the reduction of the front landscape buffer to 20 feet and the increase of the southern buffer from 25 feet to 30 feet. So that's a 5-foot shift that we considered, and we can certainly make it if that's what the body would like us to do. From a tree preservation standpoint, the plan that Ms. Hinson showed a while ago showed some of those existing trees. I can describe it to you. Happy to show that plan again if you'd like to see it. But the boundary along the southern property line is a mixture of like undergrowth, like dense undergrowth, and palm trees. So that's what we have in that landscape buffer right now. They're just palm trees. The master plan that we've presented shows compliance with the city's landscape buffer regulations, which is a double row of 4-inch diameter breast height canopy trees. So that's a very mature canopy tree. Positioned 25 feet on center for each row, but staggered. So every 12.5 feet, you're going to have a tree with 2 staggered rows. These are canopy trees, right? Their canopy becomes 30, 40 feet when they're mature. There's no comparison between that requirement from the city and keeping these palm trees. So we would like to just implement, the code requirement for landscape buffer and provide a better screen to the residents. Due to the amount of fill on site is like set based off of the elevation of roads. Also in consideration of stormwater management, the groundwater on this site is from the seasonal high perspective is only 1 to 2 feet below grade. So that means everything needs to be built up. So we're going to have 3 feet of fill roughly on our site. So this is not a fully engineered drawing yet, and we have not done that yet. So just please, it's a rough estimate based off of these stormwater requirements as well as connection to roads. We talked about the location of the buffer wall and the solid waste. And then from driveway access perspective, we've been speaking with Seminole County throughout this entire process. We've reached out to them again. So generally, the take is related to our driveway access is like, you're going to need to meet the results of your traffic analysis, right? So the consideration of a right turn lane on Lake Mary Boulevard, as well as the access point, is all going to be based off of the results of the traffic study. And then the driveway connection to Skyway being restricted right in, right out. Currently, again, that's something that is also subject to the traffic study. The reason why the Seminole County wanted it restricted, like we're showing, is for that morning peak hour, right? So when people are going to work, they've dropped their kids off, or they're going to drop their kids off at school. It's at that peak hour when cars stack up at this intersection. And the county didn't want somebody trying to make a left into the site, blocking the intersection. So that's the reason why that has been shown conceptually, but again, we are going to be meeting the results of the traffic study. So I do hope I don't miss anything related to some of the homework we had to do. So I appreciate your consideration and your ear, so thank you.
Okay, wait, I missed what the final decision is on where you would put the wall.
I think we're open to that.
Open to what?
Open
The purpose
to
of this exercise, Mayor, is to provide some alternatives. I think currently the preference is to put the wall on the property line so that it's secure and we don't have that wasted space. There's an engineering word for that, but that wasted space of potential maintenance, trash, maybe people get back there. I think the ultimate site security for our property and adjoining properties is to have the wall on the property line in accordance with your code, and then your fully landscaped buffer beyond that as outlined in the PD. But we did want to make sure that we had gone through that process, which I think took up right up all of the 2 weeks to put together to, as best we can engineer this thing, again, like Jeremy said, without being fully engineered, but wanted to make sure that we had those alternatives for you to see.
Okay, so the double row of trees you were speaking of would be on the 7-Eleven side of the wall.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And that ensures best maintenance practices and, again, site security. And in line with the PD ordinance as written as well. I went back there. So I think I have maybe just 1 or 2 more slides, and Jeremy covered buffering quite a bit, and to the mayor's question as well. Also keep in mind that we, and this should be now part of the PD ordinance, agreed to a 2-foot height raise on the wall to 8 feet as well on top of the landscape buffer. We continue to be open to moving the whole site that 5 feet into Lake Mary Boulevard, if that's the preference of this body as well, to add a little bit additional setback. But I do want to just call out again that we are coming into the city and of course complying or exceeding your setbacks and your land development code, your landscaping code. But we are also faced with the reality that we have a residential development that, per its approval, has reduced buffering because it's within a high-intensity land use designation equivalent to ours. So always envisioned that there would be some tightness in the buffering, and I think what we've been able to achieve in the PD and with these additional conditions that were, certainly agreeable to, provide much more than the appropriate buffering previously proposed at first reading. And so with that, I just want to thank you for this long, the time on this long presentation. There was much to go through. Great points and I think concerns were raised, and so we wanted to make sure we covered all those things comprehensively so that we can, meet what the staff is ultimately recommending based on their compatibility with the area, consistency with your land development code, your comprehensive plan, the joint planning agreement, the small area study, and Florida law. With that, I'll save the rest of my time to respond to any public comment, but thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to answer any specific questions at this juncture.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do. So your team did a really good job of trying to debunk all of the health studies that you have. But did you all look at all, and it's not a requirement, but did you look to see if you had any data showing that this would not negatively impact this neighborhood? Did you have any data showing that?
Sure.
That neighborhood?
Yeah, and I would answer that this way, Commissioner. All any applicant can do when they come to the city is have a sufficient application that complies with your land development code and submit yourself to your staff review for consistency. And we were able to do that. I think with the purpose of, at the baseline as it relates to the future land use, which is the planning of the property in the area, we've done that. We've shown that. Staff has provided competent substantial evidence that's proven that. And when we implement that planning at the zoning level through our PD and the number of voluntary conditions that we've outlined and the additional that we've heard through some of the feedback of the residents, the additional wall, the landscape buffering, looking through those things to make sure that we're providing not just code standards, but above code standards through that PD process, then yes, Commissioner, we certainly have provided and submitted a consistent and mitigated of those aspects project.
One comment first. I appreciate your giving us the information on the original zoning of this by the county, because that was a question that I think a lot of us has, is why are we in this predicament now? It is still a little unusual to me that there's a development this close to now a 7-Eleven, but that gives us the history, so thank you for that. I do have a question for UC Davis guy, and I'm sorry I forgot your name, but I remember where you were from. One of your charts said that, and I'm old enough to remember these days before they started really rigorously enforcing the environmental concerns with this. But one of the ones that you mentioned from the European studies had a date on there of, I think, 2024, but you had said it was all prior to 2009. Explain that, please.
Correct. So what I said was that the studies that were highlighted in yellow were either partially from before 2009 or entirely from 2009. So it's almost like they're comparing apples and oranges when it comes to the impact on the local area around those, what they call petrol stations. Mm-hmm. And it's important to realize, too, is that 2009 was the directive that was issued by the European Union, but as we all know, these requirements have a lag time before they're fully implemented. So it's unknown and entirely possible, probable even, that the localities that were being studied were still under the context of the unregulated or the lack of the vapor recovery system that was causing the results that they were getting from these
Okay, I'm
studies.
just trying to figure out why the second one had a date of 2020 something.
See, the study was published in 2023, but it was started in 1998, and it ran through 2018.
Okay, thank you for that. And in your time working with this kind of process, I know that there are a lot fewer incidents than there used to be, and we're all grateful to hear that. How many leaks were you involved in?
Well, the nature of my job is that I'm involved.
That's your job, to get involved when there's a leak.
Yeah, so I can tell you that it's not the number of leaks. It's that the magnitude has gone down. It's kind of like lightning. Like Florida's got a lot of lightning. Well, actually, I should say tornadoes. Florida has a lot of tornadoes, but they're all very small, and we're not known for that. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with the leaks in these stations, especially with 7-Eleven, which I'm more familiar with, is that the leaks have become more and more minor. Okay. And they generally tend to stay within the property boundary, and they're cleaned up generally within a year or two.
But they do happen.
They're going to happen, yes.
Well, I appreciate your bona fides. I don't question them at all. And I'm grateful that you expressed appreciation for what the residents here have done to do their homework and to do their research.
Absolutely.
Because we are concerned about their safety, rightly so. So we need science that we're hearing from you to dispel those concerns.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We have quite a few requests to speak. We'll start with Nathan Christensen. We'll each have about 3 minutes, and we would ask that you try to avoid repeating what others have said, but certainly you will have an opportunity to speak. Mr. Christensen.
Good evening. I'm Nathan Christensen, 3824 Corona Court. Good evening, Mayor, Committee Commissioner, and fellow residents. The proposed development places one of the most intensive commercial uses, a 24-hour gas station, too close to a residential neighborhood. And that proximity is the heart of the issue tonight. The city's comprehensive plan provides clear guidance on this issue. Policy Flu 1.3.6, paragraph 3 states that the general commercial areas are not intended to accommodate activities which may generate nuisance impacts, including glare, smoke, other air pollutants, noise, vibration, or major fire hazards. A 24-hour gas station by its very nature introduces many of these exact impacts: continuous high-intensity lighting, fuel emissions, noise, and increased safety risk. This places it outside of what is considered compatible commercial use adjacent to residential neighborhoods. Gasoline contains benzene, as we've already discussed, is a carcinogen, and apparently there are safe levels of exposure, as expressed by our expert here. I would disagree with that. I may not be an expert, but I don't agree that there are safe levels of carcinogen exposures. The lighting associated with gas station is particularly from the fuel canopy is substantially more intense than commercial uses, other commercial uses, and operates continuously throughout the night. This is fundamentally different from other uses such as medical offices, gyms, retail spaces, which reduce or eliminate lighting after hours. Policy Flu 1.3.2 states that commercial development should be concentrated in areas that promote efficient flow of traffic and minimize adverse impact on residential quality. The site and surrounding access roads were not designed to accommodate the type of traffic generated by a 24-hour gas station. This includes increased vehicle volume, tanker trucks, delivery trucks, and late-night traffic patterns. Placing high traffic use of this location does not promote efficient flow. It introduces congestion and safety concerns adjacent to homes. Furthermore, with the timing of this project, I fear the traffic study will be completed during the summer months when the nearby school is not in session. This school generates large amounts of traffic and if not taken into consideration will skew the study and provide inaccurate data on the surrounding roads. As it has been expressed tonight, some would argue that I'm bringing up too much about a highly regulated industry. Regulation does not eliminate risk. We've seen clear examples of this. 5 years ago, not that long, after 2009, there wasn't a minor leak, there was a major leak. In Hawaii, a petroleum release from a U.S. Navy-operated fuel system contaminated the drinking water supply for approximately 93,000 people. Families experienced negative health symptoms and many were forced to temporarily relocate from their homes. This was not a minor leak. This was not a poorly run private operation. This was a federally managed, highly regulated facility, and yet a failure still occurred, with real consequences for families living nearby. Studies have shown that even a small leakage rate of 2 drops per second can render nearly 500 million gallons of water unfit for drinking. I'm not suggesting that these events will happen here, but it does demonstrate an important point. When hazardous fuel storage is placed in close proximity to residential communities, even low probability events can carry high consequences. That is why proximity matters and why land use compatibility matters. Based on the comprehensive plan and the intensity of this use, I respectfully believe the answer is no. Please uphold the vision of the comprehensive plan, protect the character and safety of our neighborhood, and deny this proposal. Thank you.
Mr. Christian, just a minute. What was the comprehensive plan reference, the first one?
The first reference, sir, was 1.3.6, paragraph 3.
Second one was 1 through 2.
The second one was 1.3.2.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Danica Christensen.
Danica Christiansen, 3824 Corona Court. Good evening. I live directly behind the proposed gas station. I'm a stay-at-home mom of young children. I spend a lot of time at home and in that yard. I talked to you last time about standing at a gas station and taking a big smell. What do you smell when you stand at a gas station? You smell the gas. We're going to be that is going to be our everyday, where our home is about 100 feet from those fuel pumps. Every time my kids step out to play, they'll be breathing in those fumes. I know there's a lot of studies, we've talked about those things, but I feel like in 2026, we know better that these fumes are just not acceptable. I would like to reference policy FLU 117, letter Q, establishes criteria for new development, requires that new development comply with performance criteria, including nuisance abatement standards regulating impacts such as noise and odor. A 24-hour gas station operating directly next to homes will generate lots of noise and fuel odors. That directly conflicts with the intent of this policy. The comprehensive plan requires residential land use be protected from encroachment by incompatible non-residential development. This project places a 24-hour gas station directly next to existing homes. That is not a transition, that is directly adjacent to residential living. If this passes, all of you will move on. You'll probably not think of it much more. These people back here will move on with their lives, but we won't. We'll worry about our health, our property values, our insurance premiums will majorly go up. I've looked into it. These insurance companies know that it's dangerous to live next to a gas station, so they raise their prices. It'll be impossible to sell our homes and to use our yards. Our everyday lives will be affected. I'm not opposed to development, but the comprehensive plan makes it clear that development must be compatible, must protect neighborhoods, and must be designed safely. Our safety, our health are at risk if this gas station is built. Please consider families living directly behind this site, the children playing just feet away, and the long-term impacts to our neighborhood. I respectfully ask that you vote no on this gas station. Thank you.
Thank you. Savvy Touch.
Hello, my name is Savvy Touch. I live at 3848 Corona Court. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to begin by saying that I understand growth and development are a part of a healthy community. And I recognize that this planned development may include other types of commercial businesses, and many lower impact uses could be compatible with nearby homes. For example, neighborhood scale businesses such as professional offices, small cafes, local retail could serve the community without creating significant environmental or safety concerns. However, a gas station is fundamentally different. Under the current proposal, approximately 15 homes would back up directly against the gas station, my home included. These homes would have little to no meaningful buffer between their backyards and fuel operations. From a planning perspective, this situation creates what is known as incompatible land use adjacency, where high-density commercial use is placed directly next to an existing low-density residential neighborhood. That's competent substantial evidence. Gas stations are considered high-impact commercial uses because they involve underground fuel storage tanks, fuel vapor emissions, bright lighting, extended operating hours, and constant vehicle traffic. These factors conflict with safety, health, and quiet character of an existing residential neighborhood. While walls or landscaping may provide visual screening, they do not prevent the movement of airborne pollutants. An 8-foot wall or even a 20-foot wall is not going to stop chemicals such as benzene or volatile organic compounds known as VOCs from traveling through the air into our nearby homes and our backyards. I am a disabled veteran who was exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances during my tour. Because of that exposure, I already live with respiratory and other health challenges. Additionally, environmental pollutions create a real concern, not only for me, but to young children and the elderly population. So one of the reasons I chose to live here is because of the natural surroundings. I get to see the trees, the natures around me. I used to be able to step outside and breathe fresh air, hear the birds chirping. The sense of peace and quiet is part of what makes a home livable. With the gas station placed close to our homes, that experience would change significantly. Instead of calm and quiet, it would be increased traffic, noise, fumes, lightning, and safety risks directly behind where families live, just to save on trips. There are also serious concerns for the broader community, increased traffic and activity associated with gas stations that could compromise the safety and atmosphere of the neighbor schools and sports complex, where children and families regularly gather and educate for recreational purposes. I have a lot more, and I want to get through all of it, but I know my time ran out, but can I finish what I have written?
About 30 more seconds.
So the planning framework used by the City of Sanford emphasizes compatible land use, protecting residential areas. According to the Sanford Comprehensive Plan 2018, development decisions should help maintain livable communities to enhance the quality of life for residents. Under Florida law, development approvals must remain consistent with adopted comprehensive plan. The Florida statute 163 requires that local development decisions align with the comprehensive plan. If a project undermines neighborhood compatibility, safety, or livability, the city has the authority to deny the request. I serve this country to protect the community. Now I'm asking for the community to protect the community.
All right, thank you. Judith Senti. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I hope I did.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. I'm Judith Santa. I apologize. I'm losing my voice. I live at 3844 Corona Court, Sanford, Florida. I own one of the homes that would directly back up to this proposed development, so I'm clearly concerned, and I tried to minimize my repetitions. I'm a teacher and an educator, so when I work with children and I train others to work with children, I always look at the whole child with the specific characteristics and the needs of the child. So when there's a service that's highly recommended for one child, but I know that it would be detrimental to another child, I will advise against it. So I look at the City of Sanford's comprehensive plan the same way, holistically. It has different components that they need to align well together. Right now, we have a major conflict between the business side and the community side that we are representing. Excuse me. So when your city staff had to do a content analysis of all the concerns that the community submitted, and not just from us, but from the school and everywhere else, representing hundreds of people, to me, that's a clear red flag that it's not a good fit within the comprehensive plan. Excuse me. You ask us to focus on no emotions or thoughts because they are not representative of, that's not how you have to make decisions. However, emotions brought all these people here, all the concerned citizens, because if someone is not feeling safe or they have safety and health concerns, these people don't want to live, work, play, and retire here because these people will want to leave this area. And, excuse me. And yes, you heard our concerns. You saw the thematic analysis of all the concerns. But we are concerned for our safety. And I don't believe that Representative Britton's question was answered. There is no study, and I was actually one of the persons who compiled all those studies. There is not one study that would tell you that benzene is safe. And it's not detrimental to the children's development. It's linked with all kinds of cancers. So yes, the residents will be concerned if it's in their backyard. The pumps are in the backyards. We don't want to be the next site of the next shooting that happened recently. When, if you looked at the picture, the bullets can literally drive into our homes or some of our neighbors' homes. So we are concerned about our health and safety. And yes, we'll do the traffic study, but if you go outside now, you'll see a major congestion already between Skyway Drive and Lake Mary Boulevard from both directions. And depending on when the trucks will come, it will cause at least 50 children to be late from school within 5 minutes. And in closing, I know my time is up. I would like to leave you with a quote, which is the golden rule that's in the Bible and even on the wall of the United Nations. And it says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And with all due respect, I sincerely doubt that anyone in this chamber, no matter what you represent and whatever side you're on, I sincerely doubt that anybody here would be happy on the other side of this 6 or 8 foot fence. And I sincerely hope that a respected city commission will not wish it and vote it for us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Saba Asalansi.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chabo Slans, and I live at 3844 Corona Court. I like to apologize if hard to understand me. Please note, English is not my first language. So 6 years ago, my family moved to Sanford because our son started Galileo School, and that was the only thing brought my family to Sanford. And we were so happy when we find out that they're planning to build a high school just south of the elementary school right now. And we don't want to be a part of that traffic, what going on in there in the morning and afternoon. So we purchased the house next to the school so we can walk into the school. And I know that the gas station will be the thing that drives us away because we're not going to spend a minute living next to the gas station. And I don't think that neither any of you will. I believe I'm saying this for all the residents in Parkview Place that they do not want to live right next to the toxic, non-stop loud place. And I understand this is a commercial lot, and what nearby residents need for their health and safety is something that is non-24/7, non-toxic, and it has the least possible food waste. If you have a well-thought-out comprehensive plan, then you should not let this gas station to be developed this close to a residential place. And I believe that the city should not allow a toxic business to be in a safe category as a non-toxic business under the relaxed rules for a PD buffer and setbacks. Because a new toxic, hazardous, poisonous, unsafe development should not be allowed right next to the residential area. And by the way, many of the residents are already wondering, in an unfortunate event that a Parkview Place resident develop cancer, whose responsibility will it be? I bet a young, aggressive, silky talking lawyer will make a fortune out of it. So a decision in your hands. Please do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Barney Redmond.
Good evening. My name is Barry Redmond. No, not Barney. I live at 3800 Corona Court, the house closest to Skyway Drive. I just have two subjects I'd like to cover, if you don't mind. The first, am I right by saying that you can't turn left into the gas station from 46? Is that correct? You can't?
What?
You can't turn left into the gas station from 46, right? If you're coming from 46 down Lake Mary, you
No,
can't
you
turn
would have
left
to
there.
make a U-turn.
You can't make it, yeah, U-turn, yes. So you're going to be making a U-turn. The traffic coming down that road is usually doing 55, 60 miles an hour. Making a U-turn there is not the safest thing to do, in my opinion. Let's just, for instance, if a delivery truck was coming down that same road, trying to enter 7-Eleven, he's going to have to make the same U-turn. I've been a truck driver for 20 years, driving 18-wheelers for 20 years. I know for a fact you cannot make that turn from the left-hand turning lane to go back towards 7-Eleven. So you either make an illegal U-turn, or maybe you turn down Skyway Drive and realize you can't turn left, and then you're in a predicament. Very unsafe thing for the truck drivers, for sure. While we're on the subject of truck drivers, the noise that a truck makes, we're all familiar with it. Air brakes, engines, the backing up, safety devices, when you start unloading, slamming doors, pulling out the ramps, etc. All this is done, 80% of deliveries to 7-Eleven are done after hours, between 11 and 4 a.m. And I've done my homework, and I know that for a fact. So we've got to listen to that. An 8 foot wall and a few trees ain't going to stop the noise from those trucks early in the morning. And we deserve to get some peace and quiet. The second thing, if you don't mind, there's a statement made last week, 2 weeks ago at this meeting. The statement was, most gas stations are close to homes. Blatantly incorrect. Most gas stations are on the corner of large intersections and nowhere near homes. That's where most gas stations are. So we did some homework. We drove around looking at gas stations, trying to find ones that maybe had some homes nearby. We found a few. Mainly older gas stations, pre-90s maybe. There are a couple of homes behind them. None of these homes are two-story, and none of these gas stations were open 24 hours. That's a problem. Okay? That's a huge difference. So, just to close, this gas station, it doesn't belong in this area. For the traffic concerns, for the fact that we're so close by, for the noise, I suggest that you deny this proposal, please, for the residents. I think we deserve better. It's never been done before. You can't compare it to anything else, so I'm not really sure why Sanford wouldn't entertain it now. That's all I can say. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia Dinkin.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Deacon. I live at 3800 Corona Court. And I am, you can see my backyard, so in the picture. I'm the first home. I wanted to just cite some things. I know I don't want to be redundant as well, so I just wanted to cite some. I know we talked about it last 2 weeks ago, but policy FLU 1.1.1 amendment shall be consistent with all elements of the city comprehensive plan. We talked about that. The amendment will not significantly alter acceptable existing land use patterns or adversely affect livability of the area or the health and safety of the residents. I have a question. This is your question for you guys. Does this amendment adversely affect the livability, the health and safety of the residents? My opinion is it does. Also in the same section, and does this enhance the character of the community? So it says it must enhance the character of the community. Does this gas station enhance the character of our community? I'm going to go down to FLU 1.1.6. I'm going to go to G, ensure safe and convenient on-site and off-site traffic flow and vehicle parking needs, and prohibit development within existing and future rights of way. Does this plan ensure the safety and convenient on-site and off-site? And finally, 1.1.7, nuisance abatement standards regulating adverse impacts such as noise, vibration, glare, odor, fire, explosion, and community appearance. Are those met? One thing I do appreciate that was brought up this evening was the history of how the rezoning happened to our property before. This is long before any of us knew that this development would be built, before we thought about buying a home, before we were sold on these homes. So that changed, it evolved. And I asked that we evolve this property too. So I understand that we might have to have some rezoning, and we might have to have businesses or something behind the homes there. It's not just going to be our sanctuary. But my question is, if we've evolved this property, Sanford permitted this residential to be single-family home, residential, how, and the changing of the buffering and all that, how can we not evolve and change or consider the next piece? So that happened, and now this is this. So we were there first. Again, nobody here knew that. Nobody had the sales agent say, you know, we're going to have a 7-Eleven in 6 years. Nobody said that to me. It was a beautiful, a beautiful thing, like everybody else has said before. So please consider those amendment or those citations I said earlier when you're making your decision, if those things can accurately be said yes to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Michelle Westcott.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Westcott, 919 Poinsettia Drive, Chuleta, Florida. I am actually coming at this from a little different perspective because I do not live here. I live in Chuleta. The only thing that brings me to Sanford is my children's school, which is down the street, Galileo. I'm a parent of 3 children who currently attend Galileo, and I'm here to respectfully oppose this gas station, not because I'm against development, but because of the situation that having this gas station would provide. We've already covered a lot of the health and safety issues, but coming from a different perspective as a parent coming into Sanford, who primarily does would otherwise do everything in Chuleta or Oviedo, the school is what brings me to Sanford, and what brings me to do my errands and business and things in Sanford. And so having this gas station here, I would be very likely to pull my children from the school, as wonderful as the school is, because of the issues that having the gas station provides. For one, student vulnerability. This is Galileo is a K-8 school with young children who walk, wait, and gather. The gas station, introducing a transient environment with unfamiliar adults and increased traffic, would not be the kind of environment that I would like to have directly next to the school where my children are, especially knowing when we know that having the gas station, it can increase risks, including exploitation and unsafe interactions. Finally, this K through 8 school is a charter school, so I'm not the only one coming from outside of Sanford to Sanford. It draws families from all across the county. Parents choose this school because they believe it is the best fit for their child, but also it is a safe and supportive environment. Having a gas station at its doorstep sends the opposite message, and it may very well impact families' decisions to stay, such as mine. This isn't about stopping progress. It's about stopping. It's about protecting our children and making thoughtful choices about the land use. And I urge you to consider a different type of development for this location, one that supports rather than undermines the safety and well-being of our children and students. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Dallas Marcone.
Do I press this green button?
No.
Okay. Okay, my name is Dallas Marcone. I live in Lake Mary, 705 Creekwater Terrace. My sister lives in the neighborhood. So my thing is that you guys have every right to say no to this if you don't feel comfortable with the risk, the safety risk that it might pose to these kids. I'm a teacher in Seminole County here, and one thing that I really have trouble conveying to my kids these days is a sense of community. And they really feel detached to their community. I mean, back in the day, we had local newspapers and we had, town hall meetings where everybody went, and we all felt a sense of community with each other. We felt like we had a direct impact on how things went and how things were managed, and we had a voice. And I feel like kids today, they just don't feel that voice in their community anymore. They don't feel that connection. And so, to me, seeing something like this, where a community comes forward to their city commission and they put forward valid and competent fears. I mean, I thought that was pretty disturbing that, we were categorizing this as incompetent or fear-mongering, these fears. I mean, there are lists of studies, and I feel like, number one, I wasn't comfortable with how they addressed the studies in saying that they were, incompetent or that they weren't valid. And then another thing I found kind of disturbing was that they haven't even decided where they want to put the wall yet. I mean, I would think that if they were concerned 100% with the safety of the kids that they were putting this gas station in front of, they would have come with a finalized view of it being as far away from the property line as possible. But they want it to be along the property line because it's wasted space or something like that. I'm not really sure. So you have every right to deny this because of the safety concerns. And you should. And you got kids and parents here that have come, and they've put themselves out in the community, and this sense of community that we're missing. And you guys had the opportunity to do the right thing and to show these kids that they do have a voice in their community and that their fears are taken seriously and that they're founded on facts. These aren't, this isn't like, fantasy. This isn't just a bunch of people afraid for no reason. These are genuine fears and concerns that they have. So I would respectfully ask you to vote no for them and for their voice and for their genuine fears and their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Took. Took. Michael Toole, sorry.
No problem.
Misread the last letters as a K.
No problem. If I can submit the study by the National Institute of Health, I will as a public commentator. If not, I plan to represent Ms. Martin over here and enter it into evidence for your consideration. But there is a National Institute of Health study posted in 2023, just 3 years ago, that shows the likelihood of increased risk of childhood leukemia for people who live within 250 meters of a petrol station. And again, this is after 2009, which the applicant has brought up. whether it's a European study or an American study, the Europeans use vapor recovery systems just as much as the United States. They're substantially similar, if not identical, over there as they are here. Additionally, there's still cars on the road that are pre-2009 who don't have these safety issues and still would emit these emissions onto these property levels. The likelihood of cancer for children 5 and under is twofold when you live within that 250 meters, and fourfold as they get older, approaching the years 5 and 6, as they've now been exposed to this even longer. I have copies that I provided to the applicant. I can provide each a copy for the board member if you'd like me to. We will be entering it through Ms. Martin unless there's some kind of opposition here. But regardless of the emissions, they haven't addressed the traffic patterns. As we know now that you will be required to now only make a right-hand turn into the gas station from Skyway. And so when you're coming from Skyway and you realize that you can't make that left-hand turn into the gas station, where are you going to make your U-turn to now get into the gas station? You're going to circle the block, or realistically, people are going to use the entrance of our community to make that U-turn, where people are coming in and out of gates, where kids are being dropped off by the bus, going to be using that area to make their U-turn to get back into the gas station. The applicant, again, didn't answer Ms. Britton's question of whether they've actually done studies to show that it's safe. And they can't. There's nothing that's going to show that these emissions are safe here. And they indicated that all an applicant can do is come with a plan that meets the requirements of the city plan. That's not all they can do. They can do the studies that show it's safe. They can move their gas stations. They can do lots of things to show that, where they want to put a gas station will work with the community. You're allowed to deny if the safety concerns are not mitigated. And the safety concerns here cannot be mitigated by the applicant here. We respectfully ask that if you can deny, you should deny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bailey Martin.
Hi, my name is Bailey, and my address is 3988 Lightning Court, and I love to have playdates. And in this neighborhood, I get a playdate almost every day. But if you vote for the gas station, I will move and I won't have as much playdates each day. So please vote no, because this is my favorite place to be, and I call this place home. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Martin.
Amanda Martin, 3988 Lightning Court, Sanford, in the Parkview Place community. Good evening. I am a mother of 2 young girls. I'm here tonight because this decision directly impacts their safety, their health, and their future. Gas stations are not just convenience stops. They are sources of continuous chemical exposure. Obviously, this has been repeated. They release benzene, other volatile organic compounds into the air during fueling, fuel delivery. Benzene, obviously, is a well-established carcinogen. And thank you for confirming that that leaks do happen. Research shows that children who live close to gas stations have higher risks of childhood cancers, leukemia, some studies showing more than double the risk of those living nearest. And this is not just about cancer. Studies from the National Institute of Health, as you guys have been given copies, show that increased exposure to traffic-related air pollution, like what surrounds gas stations, is linked to developmental delays in young children as well. These risks matter most for infants, young children, like my 5-month-old, which you guys have heard, and the many other babies and young children in our very special neighborhood whose bodies and brains are still developing. Gas stations do not, they're not just bringing health concerns. Additionally, they obviously increase traffic, but they also introduce high-risk traffic patterns. Cars suddenly slowing down to turn in, vehicles pulling out into traffic, congestion during peak hours, and large fuel trucks navigating tight spaces. As many of you have seen, probably, Skyway Drive is not designed to absorb commercial traffic. It is a small local road that serves our neighborhood and leads directly to the Galileo School for Gifted Learning, which is something that Sanford can be really proud of, having the Galileo School. So picture this. It's between 7:30, 8 in the morning. Children are walking, biking to school. Parents are dropping off students. Now add cars turning into a gas station, vehicles pulling back into traffic, and a fuel truck entering all at once. This is not a hypothetical. This is what would happen regularly. The result is congestion, confusion, and a significantly increased risk of accidents right next to an elementary school. This is not just about inconvenience. It is a predictable and preventable safety risk on many levels. We are taking a quiet residential road connected to a school and turning it into a commercial traffic access point. I am not asking that this gas station not be added to support our community and further development of Sanford. I'm just asking and advocating that we put it in a more responsible location. As a mother, I cannot control everything that affects my children's safety, but I can stand here and ask that we not knowingly introduce risks that research has already found to be harmful. And in response to the professional from, it was UC, wherever you were from, thank you. When it comes to children, we should not require absolute proof of harm before we act responsibly. We chose to live in this community because it felt safe, almost done, because it felt like a place where our children could grow up healthy. I am asking you to protect that. You have the ability tonight to prevent unnecessary risks to children's health and safety. Please use that power to protect the families who already call this community home. And I'll leave you with this. As Danica had shared, years from now, this decision will still be here. My daughters and many other precious children will still be walking these streets and breathing this air. I am asking you to make the choice that you would want made if these were your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Martin.
Hi, my name is Amy Martin, and I live at 4327 Seamiss Drive in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I don't live in the Parkview Place community, but some people that I love very dearly do. I have a daughter, 2 precious granddaughters, and a wonderful son-in-law that chose to move into that community. And first, I'd venture to guess that no people sitting on your side of the podium actually have a gas station in your backyard or one abutting your subdivision, and that you wouldn't particularly want that if it was being proposed. You are clearly an elected body who is responsible for representing the people of Sanford, and in this case, residents of Parkview Place. As has already been mentioned, these sweet families were there first, and quite frankly, I think they should have your highest priority when considering this. Had the gas station been there first, a lot of different choices might have been made, and there's a lot of people living there that would have not chose those wonderful homes to live in. Please show the Sanford citizens of Parkview Place that they matter to you, that their concerns matter, that even the possibility that harm could come to these precious families and children matters to you. The scientists repeatedly said that the studies raised by the residents don't necessarily apply here, not that they definitively do not apply here. Please show that you're willing to put people above profits, grandchildren above growth, and exercising outside above expansion. I implore you to think about how you'd want this vote to go if it was being proposed to be built in your backyard. Finally, I'm just going to assume that most of y'all came in here tonight and you'd already made a decision about how you were going to vote, and that this was just another hurdle to get past before you got to cast your vote. I just want to challenge each of you to consider that sometimes changing your mind for the right reasons takes more courage, humility, integrity, and strength of character than standing your ground in the name of growth, expansion, and profit. Side note, listening to that Melissa Pascuzzo, who was the business spotlight, listening to her
and the things that she does for the community and how she clearly puts people above profits, I vote for a Steak and Shake in that property, because we need more of her. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista Kane.
Hello, thank you very much for hearing me. My name is Krista Kane. I live at 620 Riverside Court in Longwood, Florida. I am another parent of a Galileo student. My son is in first grade. We chose Galileo very, very intentionally. My son does not have the easiest time with school. Galileo does a lot to support him, and I absolutely feel that it is the best place for him, and I was absolutely thrilled when he won the lottery to get into Galileo, because that is what happens to get into Galileo. You have to win a lottery. I looked for a home to purchase after he won the lottery. I was renting before that. Now that we know he's gotten into a good K-8 school, I am going to purchase a home. I happened to purchase in Longwood. I wanted to be relatively close. It takes me about 20 minutes most mornings, but getting back home after school drop-off usually takes 35 because of the traffic, because of the number of cars leaving Galileo at that time. If a traffic study is done in the summer, it will not pick that up. The amount of traffic directly before and directly after school is really significant. The idea of my first grade son and other small children walking outside to breathe in benzene, which I have a master's of public health from Columbia in epidemiology. I learned extensively about how to read studies. Carcinogens have a safe level because it's what we can detect, not because it's actually safe, because it's what we can detect. The better our studies get, the better our cancer detection methods get, the more we will detect, the lower that safe level will get over time. The studies we currently have show us only what is currently known. And these children who play outside at Galileo, who play outside at Boomba across the street, where we spend almost every day after school, we will not do so anymore. And my son's father, who is no longer my partner, is currently looking for a home, and he was planning to move as close to Galileo as he could, but I am certain that he will not consider Parkview Place if the 7-Eleven is put in. I encourage you to, as so many have presented already, to exercise your right to say no to this, because it is very clear that you can. It is very clear that this is a health and safety violation that is not in line with the city plan. And I encourage you to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ashley McWilliams.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. My community has already expressed the concerns I share. I could never come behind, especially the gentleman who was sitting there, the teacher, along with everybody, really. I just simply ask that you remember, if this is approved, the residents, not the applicant, not their attorneys, will live with the impacts 24 hours a day, long after this meeting is over. When evaluating land use compatibility, proximity between a 24-hour fueling facility and residential homes presents legitimate public health and safety considerations appropriate for careful review. Residents respectfully request that these considerations be carefully evaluated when determining whether this proposed use is appropriate for this location. Again, I'm not going to go over, I had a whole thing written up with studies and whatnot from 2018, 2019. But again, I can't state anymore. I just really support my community, my neighbors, the schools, the teachers, everybody that has just come out for this, and just we really hope that we have your support on denying this. This is not an appropriate area for this, especially being a 24-hour gas station. It's not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is all of the speaker cards I have, I believe. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? Yes.
Can I ask why a gas station when we have four, not even 2 miles up the road, going that way, and then another two a few miles up the road going the other way? Why do you need another gas station?
Because a property owner has a right to.
I just want.
I mean,
I
that's.
just want that question to kind of like.
Okay.
Why?
All right. Does the applicant want to, actually, excuse me, before you come out, I've got a question for staff. Do we have anything in code about hours of operation that would apply here? No. Okay. All right.
Thank you. I know it's been long on this presentation, and thank you to the folks that are here late, particularly with kiddos. I appreciate you taking the time. I continue to appreciate your interest and just the level of depth you go into. Hopefully we've been able to implement some of it, but they're good folks, so I just thank you. I'm going to go through, I just have a one-page, touch some of these things, and we've talked a lot about proximity we heard on public comment. The purpose of the AIC future land use designation is high-intensity commercial, industrial, retail uses next to residential. In fact, it's one of the few things in the city that's really automatic. Your comp plan says that upon annexation, this particular parcel is to be designated AIC because it is consistent with the county's HIP, AP land use designation. And that comes from the joint planning agreement. And that leads into compatibility. We had the same future land use designation as Parkview. It is functionally the same today. Yes, it is a residential use currently, but it was never intended to be a residential area. It's not a residential area. It's not. The maps show that, your comprehensive plan shows that, your joint planning agreement agrees to it, and the recent study that was approved, the small corridor study, identifies this as a mixed-use, high-intensity commercial area. Yes, with residential. It was always designed to be among residential. And so that's good planning that is consistent with your comprehensive plan. There were some specifics which I appreciate as it relates to the comp plan. 1.3.6, which includes paragraph 3, but in totality, that relates to general commercial. That area, the general commercial designation in your comp plan also speaks to residential uses in the general commercial future land use designation. 1.3.2, it dealt with the concentration pattern of commercial land uses, and that's exactly what the small area study and the joint planning agreement have accomplished, consistent with that comprehensive plan objective. We heard about nuisance abatement and things to avoid, and I believe the specific objective that was cited was 1.1.1, the very beginning where you look at the entire comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan which requires, upon annexation, AIC, taking into account all the policies, plans, and objectives. The buffering, and again, proximity was brought up a lot, proximity to commercial. That is how, and this is part of the record, that is how the Parkview Place subdivision was created. It was created specifically identifying commercial uses, specifically identifying that this residential use within this area of mixed use and high-intensity commercial uses would act as a transition. And yes, there's plenty of gas stations at large intersections. Of course there is. There's one up on 46 and Lake Mary Boulevard, it's a 7-Eleven, and it's right next to a Galileo school. They are on hard intersections, and this is one of them. This is one across from the Boomba Sports Complex and the airport. A noise zone. It's the reason why if you buy a house in Parkview Place, there's a notice and the declaration that says there's going to be a lot of noise from the airport. It doesn't necessarily take a different notice on a deed of sale that says your property was approved next to future commercial uses. It's on a hard corner with the same future land use designation, now the equivalent. Of course it's going to be commercial use. And I understand preferences. I truly do. Of course that's valid. I get it. And thank God that your decision today isn't to make a decision based off preferences. It's to implement your code and your comprehensive plan in a way that's based on competent, substantial evidence that your staff has provided to you, that our experts have provided to you. And we've gone through the studies. I'm not an expert. I can't speak to vapors and the differences between a European vapor and an American vapor, or a meter versus a mile. But our experts can, and your staff can. And through the process of the PD ordinances, have created a compatible use that's appropriate for this land use designation. Does it belong here? It absolutely does. How do I know that? Your comprehensive plan tells me that. The joint planning agreement that the city entered into with the county tells me that. The small area study tells me that. And your staff, through their competent, substantial evidence, has confirmed that. With that, I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Anybody have questions for the applicant?
I have questions for staff, applicant.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Well, I have actually probably more than one question. But does he have a pointer, laser pointer?
I might.
I
do.
Could you, or if you, somebody else would do, is better to do this, what would be the path for the gas tanker coming in to fill the tanks?
Excuse me. So the fueling tank, the fueling truck would come in here, it would make a turn, it would stop here and fuel up, and then it would exit down here and head back north, onto Lake Mary Boulevard.
Okay, so the trucks have to be coming from the west to get in.
Yeah, they do. And there's an analysis that we do with the user where this is all evaluated before we get to the stage as well. So that was all been demonstrated to them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And traffic study is done with engineering, is that correct? Oh, sorry, I should ask that before you sat back down.
I think that's a staff question.
Traffic study is dependent on how many trips are generated by a given use. If they're over a certain number, they're done at this level. If they're not, then we require them when they're developed.
I didn't understand that.
Depends on how many trips the ITE says they're going to generate at this stage. So if it's under a certain level, we don't require it at zoning. We can require it at engineering. If it's over a certain number, we require it here. So during staff analysis, I gather that my staff determined that their ITE numbers did not trip a traffic study at this time.
Okay, but I thought y'all said you were doing a traffic study to work with Seminole County on the
And
that
Seminole
entrance?
County may have requirements on their roads, separate from ours.
Yeah, that's right. So when we get to the next step, we will be doing a full traffic study. That traffic study will have to be done during school hours, school year to reflect the actual trips that are in the area. So it can't be done during spring break, for example. It can't be done in the summertime and things like that.
Okay, and what changes could or would be made based on the traffic study?
I personally don't feel like we are going to see any changes to the plan based on the traffic study. I do think we're going to need to do a right turn lane. We have one access servicing 2 parcels, and then the access to Skyway, again, that's one that's more, maybe it's open slightly, but I do feel like it's most likely going to be restricted like it's shown here.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You had questions for staff?
Yes. Okay, so Mayor, if you would allow me to address the members of the audience, because I'm the District 1 Commissioner, and I just want to publicly say that legally, we cannot vote no based on your genuine fears or your concerns. Even the picture this that was so important, we cannot legally in the state of Florida, in city of Sanford, in Seminole County, say no because of what you fear might happen. I also want it to be known that the City Commission discussed it at the last meeting and we're discussing it now. We cannot discuss this outside of a commission meeting. So I can't call Commissioner Wiggins or Austin or Commissioner Thomas or the mayor and say, well, what do you think about this? Or can we think outside the box regarding this matter? So if you will allow me, I'm going to attempt to talk to staff and to our attorney who has the experience in our comprehensive plan and in planning and zoning to ask a couple of questions to make sure that what the next step that I take will be the right and legal one, okay? All right, so when it comes to our comprehensive plan in this matter, compatibility is required. Is that correct? It's not an option, it is required, right? That is correct. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, so when we're talking about residential land uses that should be protected from encroachment by incompatible non-residential development, that includes livability and neighborhood protection. Is that correct?
Well, when you're talking about compatibility, you also have to look at what the area is zoned for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's compatible based upon what the zoning is. The zoning in this area was, and my understanding always was intended to be, high intensive. It was always intended to serve that corridor.
Okay.
It was always intended to serve the airport, again, the high intensity. So is it compatible with what it has been zoned, what it has been defined to do?
Okay.
And at the time that this property, the residential part of the property was developed, that zoning was in place. And so it was the understanding through the JPA, through the comprehensive plan, et cetera, as to forecasting what this was going to look like prior to us being here today.
Okay.
That's where that compatibility question comes in.
So even though it was intended for high intensity, according to the JPA and so on and so forth, but what we have here now is residential. But so it had to be zoned residential. So now we're up against something different, even though our joint planning agreement said this and that, and then what we planned for that area is to be high intensity. And I did hear what Logan said about the apartments, but today we have residential homes. So does that change anything? Because that's not high intensity, that's residential, which we approved.
It was intended to be, and Ms. Hinton, at any time, please chime in here. It was intended to be a residential in the midst of high intensity. So you may have another area that is zoned to be something different, but with regard to this area, it was intended to be residential, but sitting in the midst of this high intensive area, and the certain criteria as to what could be adjacent to
that property were covered in that zoning.
Okay, so, and does that cover transitional? Because we're going back up from residential to commercial, high-intensity commercial. And let me know if I'm missing you in this, but isn't there supposed to be some kind of transition period, or like to go from commercial to residential backed up like that? Help me understand how we're able to do that.
Okay, the AIC land use classification is a mixed-use classification.
Got it.
It allows for a myriad of uses ranging from high-intensity residential through industrial.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in between, with some exceptions. Actually, the City of Sanford comprehensive plan limits residential development in AIC to no less than 10 dwelling units per acre. I do not know what Seminole County's is. I did not have their land use policies. We don't do an analysis of their land use policies when applying our elements. But staff's review is guided by adopted codes, like our technical standards, comprehensive plan policies. The analysis, it's necessary to the information available for those like regulatory frameworks, the materials submitted by the applicant, and the information that we have at hand. But we don't have the benefit of living next to the facilities, next to the, day-to-day experiences that they have. So if the testimony provides legitimate comprehensive plan policies that explain how it does not comply with the comprehensive plan, you can use that in your action. However, you have to have the correct plans that actually say why it's not compatible.
Okay, so now I'm going to go back to you, Attorney Green. Based on compatibility, when we're looking at, even though I did hear that we don't have a clause or something that talks about operation hours, is that correct?
Only on certain uses like community resource facilities and stuff, we have operational hours, but in the situation of a gas station, we do not.
Okay, so when we're talking about compatibility of this development with the residential homes, a 24-hour operation, noise, light pollution, fuel deliveries, car doors, music, late night activity, I'm not seeing compatibility there from my interpretation of our comprehensive plan that says that it should enhance the character of the community. Am I wrong when I say that that's not compatible?
I wouldn't say, Commissioner Britton, that you're wrong. You're going to have to find, if the plan as submitted satisfies the comprehensive plan, and there is no restriction in code that prohibits what is being sought after, then competent substantial evidence is established. And so you have the staff report that tells you that this project is in line with the comprehensive plan. You have the staff's report that gives you no indication, and Mayor asked with regard to restrictions as to the application that is before you. You as the commission have the ability to make your motion. You're just going to have to determine what part, what code, or what part of the comprehensive plan, and be very specific to that as to what you're basing that on.
Okay. I think I got it. Okay. That's it for me, Mayor.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant before I close the public hearing? Ms. Henson?
Yes.
I am very much struggling with that Skyway entrance and the impact that can have on that neighborhood, not just Skyway, but also Kentucky. When we did the BP at French Avenue and 25th Street, we required a right-in. Is it right-in, right out there? No, you can't turn right. You have to left out to keep them from going into the neighborhood. But the difference there was when you pull in, the gas station's on your right and you could make the right in. And then you can come back out. Here, if you come down Skyway, you can't get into the gas station unless you go down and make a U-turn, or unless you plan ahead and go down Sipes and Kentucky. And, you know, I'm looking at a couple of the policies on that, M151 and 52. Thought there was another one about avoiding impacts of traffic on local residential streets. Is there any way to mitigate that traffic coming in onto Skyway or using Kentucky?
It's a challenge because the roads are not ours. They're Seminole County roads, so they make the ultimate decision in what driveways are assigned and how they're used, whether they're right in, right out, left in, left out, right out only.
Well, and it's, you know, it's pretty close to the intersection, so I would be surprised if they allowed a full intersection there.
Especially with the amount of traffic that the neighbors have testified that they see on a day-to-day basis with the school. But like I said, it's not ours. We don't necessarily have the traffic counts on it. We don't make the determination on that driveway. But in terms of safety, if there's a mobility and safety component, or if there's an access management component that the commission feels is not met, then it doesn't meet the full strict scrutiny of the comp plan.
Because if not for that issue, you know, I think it will definitely impact the neighborhood. It's 24 hours. I think that's certainly going to have some effects on that neighborhood. You know, when I left for work this morning and drove by the 7-Eleven at Lake Mary Boulevard and Ronald Reagan, you know, parking lot was full at 6:15 in the morning. So, okay. All right. Anyone have any other questions? Okay. Now close the public hearing. Bring it to commission for discussion. This is a hard one to me because, you know, this is designed for mixed use. But I'm concerned about those specific impacts.
Me too. I'm having a hard time justifying placing that directly at the entrance of the neighborhood. And I've heard what everybody had to say. But to me, it's still not compatible, but it's difficult to cite it exactly from our comprehensive plan. And when I find one FLU, then there's something that kind of kicks that out.
safe and convenient on-site and off-site traffic flow. And I still see 3 sections of 1.1.1 that are applicable here, particularly adversely affecting the livability of the area and the health and safety of the residents, not enhancing the character of the community, and demonstrating there's a need for the increase. I don't see that either.
Commissioner Thomas, what was that one, FL what?
1.1.1.
1.1.1.
There are multiple bullets there.
Well, the traffic flow is 1.1.6.
FLU 1.1.6.
And I think we could agree that 117 subsection Q applies. That talks about nuisance abatement standards. Yes, it is near the airport. Yes, there is noise because of that, but that's expected.
Well, I think you can make the argument that when you live at a subdivision that's right along Lake Mary Boulevard, you're going to have that too.
Okay.
Okay, was somebody ready to make a motion?
I am. We on C. All right, I move to deny ordinance number 20264860 based on the inconsistency with the City of Sanford comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan requires that the new development be compatible with the surrounding land uses and not adversely affect the livability of residential areas. In this case, the proposed 24-hour high-intensity commercial use introduces noise, light, activity levels, traffic that are incompatible with the adjacent neighborhood, citing FLU 1.1.1 and FLU 1.1.6 of the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan.
You want to add M 1.5.1 and 1.5.2 to that motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. All right. That will bring us to ordinance 4851.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, further amending the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan for a total of 6.95 acres in size, within the limits consisting of 8 future land use amendments to assign a city future land use designation equivalent to those in unincorporated Seminole County at the time of annexation, providing for the rezoning of real property located within the city limits, amending future land use map, providing for assignment of the land use designation for the properties, providing for adoption of maps by reference, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of maps and exhibits by reference, providing for ratification of prior actions, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, on March 5th, 2026, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the City Commission adopt the ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan to modify the future land use map for 8 properties totaling 6.95 acres. It is therefore staff recommendation City Commission approve ordinance number 4851.
Shauna, this comment you gave me, was there any context to it?
That is exactly as received.
Okay, so I think I understand the context. We did receive a comment on this item and on D from a representative of PIB Land, which has some items in this, and I think they were just making themselves available if we had questions. I'm not really sure.
That was our understanding.
Okay, so if the council has questions. So just wanted to get that in there. Okay, this is public hearing. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item? See no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring it to the commission for action.
Oh my God, move to approve.
There's
Second.
nothing unusual in this one, Eileen, right? Second.
Okay. Eileen, and we've talked about this before a little bit, but is it possible to change the process so that we do these as we annex them, rather than?
If an applicant is seeking to develop at the time they annex, like we've done tonight,
Yeah.
2 in a row, they can submit, apply for a comp plan amendment, and apply for a rezone all at the same time. But that's on the applicant because there's cost burden to that. We only do them intermittently because we have to run the advertisements, we have to run the public hearings, we have to do the staff reports, so the time
Okay.
burden on every annexation each time.
Okay, so there would be a cost and time issue each one that we do.
Every single annexation would require what we just
Okay.
did.
All right.
So we do them in bulk,
Okay.
and that's
Understood.
how we end up here. Most people don't, it doesn't matter, they get annexed as single family. Of these, the only ones that were not annexed by joint planning agreement are 3 of them. The rest of them were all annexed due to purchase of property.
Right.
And they just went from one jurisdiction to the other.
Okay.
So if it is a policy change we want to do, it will have a budget impact.
Okay, thank you. We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. First reading of ordinance 4852.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, rezoning for a total of 6.95 acres in size within the city limits, providing for findings and intent, providing for amendments to the zoning map, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of maps and exhibits by reference, providing for ratification of prior actions, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, on March the 5th of 2026, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the City Commission adopt an ordinance to rezone 8 properties totaling 6.95 acres in order to assign the city's zoning classification. It is therefore staff's recommendation the City Commission adopt ordinance number 4852.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to citizen participation. I have 2 requests. Stephen Snipes.
Steve Snipes, 440 South Summerlin Avenue. I'm sorry, it's late. I won't say much, but you guys were talking about the opportunity zone at the work session, and I think you shouldn't make any decisions before there's input from missing commissioners and maybe the public. And I wanted to offer the idea that if you fix up the marina some, our waterfront property might get more valuable. And last point on that is a no decision is better than a bad decision. So no rush, please. And then one other thing is you're going to vote on something in a minute about rates for marina stuff. And the thing in there had no rates, no numbers. So I don't understand what you're about to vote on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You are correct.
There The rates are posted on the website. I had to go look for them myself.
I looked on the website,
And-
I couldn't find them either.
You have to go to the marina. They're on the marina website, not on the city website.
Oh.
And then I did go look at other marinas to check our rates. So, with regard to your comment about citizen input on that opportunity site, when we nixed the deal with Heritage Park and we're looking at what we're going to do, we did do a community survey and incorporated a lot of that. That's part of the reason that that we're looking at that passive part there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Spohr.
Good evening. Chase Spohr, Zone 19, Park. South Park, I'm sorry. I'm not sure, Commissioner Alston, if you ever received the documentation that you requested for the city buildings, but in front of me I have the engineering review comments here that are from the Public Works approved dev site permit. My project has also received many of these exact comments. The difference is I'm actually required to pay my engineers and revise my plans on every single one, where the city apparently is not. Let me read a couple of them. Underneath their engineering and plan review, item 5 talks about an inspector certified by the state of Florida, experience, installation, maintenance, erosion control. Their response, city project, not necessary. PW will inspect. Engineering plan review, item 10. Add the following note under the paving specifications requiring a prime coat in accordance with FDOT section blah, 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 blah. No, we will be doing our own paving. Engineering review, item 15. On sheet C50, add a table indicating solid waste, water, sewer, and reclaimed water, provider, and required capacity. No. Engineering review, item 16. Include a note that the contractor is a copy of the city with all material testing to receive CO. City project, we'll be doing inspections and oversights. Engineering review, item 19. And this item on my project has gone back and forth, and I was told I cannot proceed without it. Please provide a lighting plan in accordance with Schedule F. Any site lighting approved as part of this plan, other than wall-mounted lights, will require a separate building electrical permit. We will address this at a later time. And to be very clear, we'll address this later is not an option I have ever been offered. If any private applicants submitted responses like these, they would have been rejected. And then we would hear that the applicant refuses to work with the city, refuses to meet the standards, probably doing unpermitted work, and they might be sleeping in the building. When the city does it, they get approved. When I applied for my fence permit, I was told that only half could be approved. When I asked why, I was informed that only half of the fence was included in the final adopted conditions of the DO, and that the remaining portion would be needed to be addressed independently at HPB. Now, after receiving unanimous approval from HPB, I've been informed that a DO will now have to be revised to include the fence language. When these double standards are brought up, we're constantly met with sarcastic responses. I dug these up from just one meeting back in June. So to get the quality of growth we want, we are going to get there by lowering the quality of standards? Is it worth getting a property opened and it look better as opposed to open and have it look to our standards? Is it worth lowering our standards? Do you like the standards you have? If you do, then you have to stick with the standards. That statement would carry a lot more weight if the city followed its own rules. While we are being pushed to the brink trying to comply with requirements, the city skates through. The utility building has what appears to be outdoor storage that is not properly screened according to Schedule E. Then again, maybe they aren't even allowed to have outdoor storage and instead just fence in their parking for security. We don't know because it's not something we can verify easily because of the lack of process they were held to. The Jeff Triplett Center has a dumpster on grass next to street access, no bollards, no reinforced base, no screening, conditions that would never be approved for a private applicant. And yet, development site permits are approved with responses like no, not necessary, maybe later. But at least this project had the decency to submit anything at all. If these standards are truly important, if they are the benchmark for the quality, the city should be then leading by example and not exempting itself left and right. It should be the first to comply and not the first to waive and ignore. Selective enforcement, followed by being spoken down to, told we are not willing to work with staff, and told we are the ones lacking documentation. You cannot demand compliance while exempting yourselves, then turn around and paint your constituents as the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm confused by this one, Commissioner Britton.
Because I'm a resident.
As we all are, okay.
Okay. Sheena Britton, 705 South Palmetto Avenue. I have lived at my home in the historic district for 9.5 years, and I'm respectfully asking that the City Commission consider implementing a no-vote allowance along the narrow streets of Palmetto Avenue. Most of the residents in this area rely solely on street parking with vehicles lined on both sides of the road. This makes the street extremely tight and difficult to navigate, especially for larger vehicles. I have personally had the truck that my father left me damaged twice, and I have witnessed multiple instances of large trucks and boats attempting to pass through, creating unsafe conditions and unnecessary risk for residents. So I ask that you please take this into consideration to help protect the safety and property of those that live in the historic district along Palmetto.
Thank you.
Thank you, resident Britton.
Resolution 3470.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, City staff is asking you to adopt Resolution 3470, which will serve to set consistent and fair management fees and rates for the Sanford Downtown Marina.
Okay. Questions or motion?
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I now that I've found the rights.
Is Craig still here? There is a link from our website to the Marina website, isn't there? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3471.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, City staff is asking Commission to approve Resolution 3471 to amend the budget with the procurement of construction management services related to the future City Hall renovations.
Questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. And that's it. Attorney comment. City attorney comment. That's what I was trying to say.
Good evening. So I just wanted to follow up. I looked at the donation policy as I was charged to do at the last meeting. The reason why the policy provides for one donation per year, there's a plethora of opinions, attorney general opinions, where the recommendation is that it's only one donation per year to make sure that, should you be audited, that everyone who has the ability to participate in the donation process has a fair and equitable opportunity to have access to those funds, which is why it's limited to a year. We can talk about doing a fiscal year instead of a calendar year, because I know there's some events that may fall outside of the fiscal year, but I would recommend that you continue on with the one donation per year. I would also suggest adding, instead of just nonprofits, adding nonprofits and also some educational groups, because I know there's some schools that the mayor and city commissioners like to donate to, so we can add that language as well.
So, it would make sense to add that language.
Yes.
Okay. So will we bring that?
I will
Bring
send
that
you
back.
that proposed language,
Okay.
But just wanted to get back with you on that.
Okay. Any questions about that?
If we got toward the end of the period, concerns in my district, but if we got toward the end and commissioners still had budget left,
It rolls over.
and everybody had exhausted all their other needs, and they wanted to come back to the same person they'd already given to.
It would
we'd
just
still have to
roll
say no.
over. It would just roll over.
Now, I'm not asking about the rollover, I'm just asking if, so their only choice would be to roll it over. They can't say, well, I still have money, we've gotten to the end of the year, and this same organization that does something multiple times is asking again, we'd still have to say no.
That's what I would recommend. The risk of an audit, the risk of appearing as though certain groups are being favored, the risk of appearing as though you're becoming a part of their budget. These are all issues that are raised in those Attorney General opinions, and so I would recommend limiting it to the one a year. I understand why.
Okay.
There would be a preference to do otherwise.
I'm just exploring all
No,
possibilities
absolutely.
of what might happen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that, so that's per the collegial body, or is it per individual commissioner funds?
It's per the collegial body. So I'll get that follow-up language for you.
But Commissioner Thomas, do you understand about the rollover of the funds?
Mhm.
Okay, because I'm still working on mine from like 3 years ago. So.
You just probably got a little bit more than me. You probably got a little bit
Nobody
more.
has more than you.
This endless pot of money.
City Clerk's report.
I do not have any.
City Manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission. You have scheduled a special work session for this Saturday, and to Commissioner Britton and Commissioner Thomas, Ms. Jones, Elizabeth Jones, did a presentation about how what you've listed as the agenda items tie into the strategic plan. I will get copies of that to you. There has been a suggestion that for Saturday's meeting, rather than meeting in the commission chambers, you meet in the Railroad Depot room. That is up to the commission.
Yes,
Yes, to the railroad
to the
depot.
railroad depot room, yes.
Okay. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Why not the new conference room?
Right? No, so I can be looking out the window the whole time.
You mean the classroom or the conference room?
The one across the,
Oh,
there.
That's,
Tony's,
yeah, we'll do it upstairs. Okay, I wanted to bring up something before I go to the rest of the commissioner reports. And Attorney, we spoke about it briefly. And the deputy chief is back there. Can we get clarification for all of us about when there's a special event, who controls the space?
Perfect. I didn't know where this question was going. Okay. So if.
And if you have any recommended policy changes to clarify that.
Yes, I do. If it's a special event, then those who are running the special event, for essence, they own that space. And those who apply, pay their application fee, et cetera, they have the right to occupy that space. Likewise, it is those that are putting on the event, since they are acting as quasi-owner of the space at that time, if they wanted to have someone trespass at that event, they would have the ability to contact law enforcement to have individuals trespass. Now, you still have First Amendment rights. People want to be out there giving out leaflets, et cetera. They have the ability to control the sidewalks. So as you can tell, I'll give an example, Art Festival, it's in the middle of the street. So you can designate spaces to allow people to still exercise their First Amendment right, sidewalks, designated areas, et cetera. What I would recommend, and this is what I've seen Sanford does not have, is a special event policy manual that tells you, that has all that information in there. What are your rights and obligations as someone who is running an event? What are your rights and obligations if you're not a participant? Where designated areas are? And I would recommend that that type of policy be adopted by the city. It erases these questions. It lets people know at the beginning what their rights are, where their spaces are, to that extent. And a lot of municipalities have special event policies that they've adopted.
Okay, so during a special event, So you brought up the art festival, so you used it as an example. The road is their space. By right, can someone be on the sidewalk, or they have to be allowed to be on the sidewalk by the event?
They have a right to have access to exercise that First Amendment right, and typically you are designating that on the sidewalks where the event is happening in the street.
I'm glad you brought that up. Another example, say you have the marketplace. What if you have a candidate there that wants to collect petitions?
Well, the marketplace is different because that is a public event for which is open to the public. You can have, I would allow individuals to solicit, handbill, et cetera, because it's a public space. People are not contracting for that space. You can also have designated areas that people know are the areas that are available to them. So it's either way. If you want to make it, again, have this policy, you can set aside designated areas for that leafletting.
I think that's a very good idea then, because I know there might be some candidates who are confused about where they can and cannot do that. And in fact, I was asked to leave that area when I was doing petition collections.
Again, I
So
recommend
we
having
don't have
a
a policy, we
policy.
didn't have a policy
Right,
then.
I recommend having a policy, and I can draft language and we can go through this process.
That would be great.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think, Mr. Commissioners, as the city attorney has indicated that she's aware of them, then I would say that we will work with her to come up with a policy for you to consider.
Okay.
Let's
And,
do that.
and the other thing we might consider is signage, city signage,
As to where the
clarifying
designated
what
areas
what the rules are.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Britton.
I have a suggestion for the golf cart issue, the concerns that Ms. Higgins brings up at every other meeting. And Mr. Bonaparte, I would like permission to get with Chris Smith and SPD so that I can present it to the commission at a future work session.
Yes, and Commissioner, earlier you spoke as a resident. How do you want to move forward with the not having boats?
Well, that's up to SPD and the streets department. I don't know. I'm speaking as one resident. I didn't want to bring it as a commissioner because then that means I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. That's a concern that I noticed when I was doing my yard cleaning and because my personal vehicle was hit. So that's why I spoke as a resident and not as Commissioner Britton.
We will work on that.
Okay. And then I don't need a vote from the commission, but I guess just a consensus. From last year, Mr. Mayor Woodruff said that we need to inform the commission if we wanted to attend a conference, and I would like to attend the FBC Leo annual conference. Last year, I attended in Houston. This year, it is in Tampa, Florida. So usually I go to Mr. Bonaparte. Mr. Bonaparte tells me to come to the commission, so this is what I'm doing. And that concludes the District 1 report.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. Commissioner Wiggins.
I have my community meeting again this upcoming Thursday, 6 o'clock at Westside Community Center, Dr. Velman Westside Community Center. All are welcome. And then we'll be doing the food giveaway at Bentley Wilson Park at 3 p.m. So please let anyone know that you feel that needs food. We do 60 to 75 families. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Austin.
For those that may still be watching and are interested in the marina, there was an update at the work session earlier, available online. Hopefully, more communication on that matter will be coming out on the city's social media channels. The PACE program.
That's the first item on my list.
Well, too bad.
Well, you can have it.
I know it was a well-intended policy and program implemented by the state that apparently we are the only city left in Seminole County that allows it. J.R. Kroll would like to come to a workshop and discuss us not allowing it. for time purposes this evening, I don't believe everybody up here is aware of what the program is and all of that stuff, so perhaps it's something maybe you could look at scheduling with Mr. Kroll at a future work session, Mr. Bonaparte.
Certainly.
And perhaps it's a program that's ran its course, I don't know. Or it's a program that our city is vital to its residents. That's something we'll discuss at a later date when we get more information to everybody.
Or when we get down to me.
I'm sorry?
Or when we get to me.
No. And then the other thing is, I would like us, again, to explain a little bit better what we're doing at the park, why those trees had to be removed, and there's apparently a thought out there that we've already spent millions of dollars on Lake Corolla, which I don't believe is true. And so I know we tried to explain this project. I don't think we hit the mark. That's okay. We're not always going to hit the mark. But again, it's not so much, are we following our policies? Are we following the law? Are we doing X, Y, Z that we're supposed to and legally permittable? It's the perception. And we're constantly fighting the perception. And we're constantly, in this city, perceived to be doing something bad, even when we know in our heart of hearts that all of us up here only want what's best for the city and truly lead with our hearts. I believe that that's the case even for you, Art. And so, you laughing or crying?
I sneezed.
Oh.
But I was laughing.
You were laughing. So I would just like us to maybe put another post out with a little bit more information and where the funding came from, and why that is being done to save our museum.
Okay.
And the steps that we've had to go through to get to this point. Right, Mr. Smith? How long have you been working on that?
Well, two projects.
Right, I know. How long you been working on the Lake Corolla thing?
2006.
Lake Corolla was a parks project, but that wasn't mine.
Okay.
The amphitheater was a Rush CRA project.
Right.
That started, put in our lap this past year. So we raced to get everything done, permitted.
Right.
Everything, so we're on a fast track project.
Well, my memory must be wrong then, because I remember you talking about Lake Corolla and how to fix it a couple years ago.
It was actually, Lake Corolla was part of the master plan of Fort Mellon Park back in 2004. Master plan.
Right. And so the perception is that we killed wildlife, we drained that body of water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As I discussed earlier about the marina, we have to run everything through other departments. We have to follow the same rules developers and everybody else follows. And I just, I don't think, as the resident pointed out earlier, it's perceived that we don't follow our own rules. And in some cases, it might be kind of right. So we need to do a better job of explaining when we do it right. And I still think we need to take a look at that public utilities building on 1792.
I think there is a landscape plan for that. There's landscaping coming for that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything
That's
else?
it.
All right, Commissioner Thomas.
I got to attend the Citizens Academy again this week. I finally had a schedule break so I could come in and see the students, and poor Tony had to put up with me again. So thank you for allowing me to speak again. The classes are still great. I love to see the participation in there that happens in those courses. Main Street this week, we talked about, a little plug for Main Street, as you've heard from Mayor Woodruff. They are doing a good job now. I think they really are working hard to do their part when it comes to the financial part of it. And what will help there is if they can really fulfill their desire to create this 77 Army. We hope to have 18 board members and then 77 additional people come in and join Main Street so they can advocate for what's good for the city of Sanford. So a little shameless plug there. If you know anybody that has a little time and they want to participate and help make Sanford better, join the Army. You'll get a T-shirt and among other things and be able to participate in volunteer events. We had the Sanford Historical Society had their meeting this month, and thanks to Mary Snipes, I was invited to participate in that. It was at our golf course. So believe it or not, there were a few things I didn't even know about that we heard from Brigitte and the Historical Society. So that was a great event. Keep up the good work there, Mary and team. The legislative session, I gave everybody on the dais just kind of some summary of what's been happening this year up in Tallahassee. It's not really the end of session because of the budget and property taxes, but what I gave you was just some bullet points on where we are with some of the legislation that does affect the city, home rule, things that we here in the city care about. So
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And speaking of property taxes, I think we're doing a good job on trying to really educate our citizens on the importance of property tax and what it does for you as residents based on what we can do as the city for you. And I'm thinking that it might not be a bad idea because we have some creative people here. If we there's a slide that shows you the dollar bill and it breaks down what parts of that dollar represent what comes from property taxes. It's a great visual aid, and you know how we had the pearl up here for a while? Mm-hmm. Maybe we do something like that dollar bill and have it up in the commission chambers or somewhere in City Hall.
They use it at Citizens Academy.
Do they? Yeah, they do.
Department.
The finance does do that, so maybe we get a big version of that and have it here from now until Election Day, if we do end up having to have the voters vote on this.
I asked for that recently, I believe, from Mr. Bonaparte.
Yeah.
To get with David Johnson. I believe David Johnson has something.
Okay.
He has it for the county, and Lindsay does have it for the city.
Okay.
Great.
And that we have it, and it should be printed and displayed.
It should be printed and displayed. I think we cannot do enough there to really make sure that every citizen understands what will happen if bad legislation happens here. That's it for me.
Okay, I want to go back to the PACE thing because we had the conversation a year or two ago, and I thought we were headed towards doing away with it because it's vague, and one of the reasons the tax collector doesn't like it is because there's no true enforcement mechanism. He's just asked to do it. I'm not sure we need him to come to the meeting to talk about it. I mean, he can if we want him to, but I know it showed up this week because it's being used to possibly confuse people with regards to the CDBG program, and we posted it there. So I'm not sure why. Let's internally look at why did we not get rid of it a year or two ago when we talked about it.
What do we have to do to end it?
Yeah. So I don't think that needs to be a big thing. And then, Mr. Radzak, with regards to the marina, maybe the most efficient way to do this, if you would pull up the last letter that we sent to our elected officials and see if if there's any additions or changes, and we'll start from there. And I'll get that information to Senator Moody. All right, thank you. And we are adjourned.
Chris.
I'll see you Saturday.
Mr. Smith. Chris Smith. I
quick.
need you.
Be quick.
I desperately need you.
Oh, wow, Claudia. We still recording.
I don't care. I need Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, paging Mr.
He's
Smith.
leaving us, he's gonna go test his,
I'm making sure you're awake. Pull back out. There are some.
Right.
Take your, they didn't catch this, so we'll start with that.